just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Bloke in a Bar, powered by Bloke Beer. Bloke Lager is now on special in IGA Liquor and Thirsty Camel stores across New South Wales. So get into your nearest IGA Plus Liquor or Thirsty Camel. You go to their website, you can check their store locator, grab a case of Bloke Beer. It is now on special. Also, a quick reminder, or not a reminder, to let you know, Bloke jumpers are coming soon, in a few weeks. So just, if you're thinking about getting a jumper this as winter approaches, just hold off a few weeks because brand new Bloke design. No, not the OG designs, brand new Bloke jumpers designs coming in a few weeks' time. But I've got the big fella, Timmy here. The great Gurino. No, Gurino messaged yesterday. He's come down. He's a bit crook, so he couldn't make it today. But look, I missed the big fella already, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, look, saying he's a bit crook, that's a bit of a PR spin, mate. I was with him in the nation's capital on the weekend. We had a great weekend down there, tough result for the Raids, but the last I'd seen and heard of the Garino was he was down on the sideline at full time. He was doing some content, rapping the wahs about how good they were. Ricky Stewart just storms past him, calls him a weak-gutted dog. Haven't seen him since.
Okay.
Seen him since.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I reckon the Capitals swallowed him up, spat him back out, and hasn't recovered.
Mate, it's a dirty... Politics is a dirty game.
Yep.
And, you know, Guru's going to be lippy down in the capital.
He learnt the hard way.
Mate. Matty, how's the weekend?
What's going on? Yeah, pretty good. Another, South's losing before a bye, which is not great. I hate losing before the bye, which we seem to do a lot. But the Origin team's dropped. Well, the Blues team dropped this morning. So I think I might have messaged you guys 5 or 6 days ago. I was like, I'm sick of this speculation. I need the team in front of me. And it was like Christmas this morning, waking up going, finally, the team's going to be, even if I was going to be happy or disappointed. So I'm glad the team's finally here.
All right, let's get into some accountability. Proudly presented by Sportsbet. Our partners over at Sportsbet, absolute legend, have brand new feature, Share a Bet. You press one button, you can copy your mate's bet. No more sending screenshots or messaging, what'd you do here, what'd you do here? Just boom, one button press, and you can copy a bet from your mate on Sportsbet. The number one betting agency in the country, guys. They have the best app, the best features, the best odds, best everything. So if you're going to have a punt, you got to do it with Sportsbet. Partner with the number one sports podcast. Do it responsibly and make sure to know that you win some, but you lose more. So always gamble responsibly, guys. But let's get into accountability brought to you by Sportsbet. Titans defeat the Tigers 28-12. I went Tigers. Guru Tigers. Timmy Titans. Matty Titans.
Nice.
Warriors defeat the Raiders. We all went Raiders. Oh, no. And on Friday, I was very close to changing my tip. I was very close. I was like, obviously the Packer Up Boys show on Friday, I was like, I'm getting nervous. This Warriors side is not the same as it used to be. This is a different Warriors side. Anyway, Manly defeat the Dolphins. I went Dolphins. Everyone else went Manly. So massive L for me. Dragons defeat the Rabbitohs. We all went South. Broncos defeat the Knights. We all went Broncos. Penrith defeat the Roosters. I was the only one to go Roosters, so I went for big plays this weekend. I went for the glory. I went for the glory, and I clearly fell short. An absolute Barry Crocker of a weekend for me. Obviously, Guru Penrith, Timmy Penrith, Matty Penrith. Storm defeat the Sharks. We all went Sharks.
Wow.
That is
Storm.
Wow. Again, they just do it. Like every time you think they're going to ambush you by proving you wrong, they just do it.
Yeah.
They just do it. Then Eels defeat the Bulldogs. We all went Eels, but Matty went the Dogs.
Fuck.
Timmy wins with 6. Another win for Tim. Unbelievable. How lucky do you get? Seriously. You're closing your eyes and throwing darts at the ball.
You can't win tipping 13 weeks in a row and call it unbelievable.
Oh, my. What's the overall score now? Would it be 7-6 to Timmy or something?
Timmy's won about 5 weeks in a row now, so he's creeping up.
No, I don't think. No, it wouldn't be that much. Wouldn't be that much because 2 weeks ago he was 1 ahead, and then he won. Timmy won one. Then I drew one, and then you've won one. So at max would be 2 ahead.
I know. I say this every week, and I've said this every week for the last 10 weeks. But next week I'll get the official.
Please get the official scorecards.
Yeah, we need someone get this official scorecard because if there's a 1 or 2 point gap, I'll give the game up.
Oh, seriously. as we've always said, if you're getting the tips right this year, you don't know rugby league.
I'm happy to be the office lady, Nancy, mate. If it gets a dub, I'll take it.
Office lady, office bloke, just office person.
Office
Some
person.
reason office persons they just tip unbelievably well. It's like a guy could play footy his whole life and this person does. They're just going, yep. Boom, done.
Win's a win.
You are the office person of tipping. Let's get into team of the week. At 1, Tom Trbojevic. 2, Sammy. 3, Garrick. 4, Crichton. 5, Coates. 6, Munster. 7, Johnson. 8, Haas. 9, Grant. 10, Adam Fanor-Blake. 11, Scott Sorensen. 12, Preston. 13, Yo. 14, Brimson. 15, Croker. Kamakamitha at 16 and 17, Tohu Harris. And this week's hungriest player is the great Ruben the Snack Garrick. That is right, Ruben Garrick, a.k.a. the Snack, a.k.a. cheekbones so sharp they break hearts and slice hearts as well. He was unbelievable on the weekend. Unbelievable on the weekend. So free delivery this week. Get free delivery when you spend $15 or more when you use the code Garrick, Garrick. Ruben Garrick, seriously, when it comes to versatile, consistent outside backs over the last couple of seasons, I'd say he's up there with the best.
Yeah, there are certain players that, when we talk about origin arguments and they can go their whole career and go, how'd this bloke never get a game and was never sort of considered or whatnot. Garrick, he's just never in the conversation, yet wherever he gets put, whether it's centre, wing, fullback, I don't think I've ever seen the bloke have a bad game. This week, in arguably his weakest position of those three, gets put at centre, gets switched to the other side of the field and absolutely carves up. How good is he?
Equals his club record with 30 points.
Yeah.
Unbelievable in defence as well. He's such an important player to a good squad. Like, a good squad always has a guy like him that, doesn't really get mentioned for Origin, but I can imagine, put it this way, if Garrick got selected, I'd understand the naysayers of well, is he your turbos? Is he troll? He's not at that level. But I also wouldn't be he's not going to do a job.
For sure. You wouldn't pick him over the centres or wings in the side as it stands. But even last game where there was question marks around Turbo's fitness, Trell, a few other players, Campbell Graham, I just never heard his name mentioned. And again, I'm not saying I'd pick him in this team, but if he was in there next Wednesday night, I'd be so confident he'd do a job.
Yeah, and so he's not that tippity tier of superstar, but he's not that far off either in regards to reliability. There's other players that you could say have a higher ceiling that you would be more concerned about, having rocks or diamonds kind of thing. Whereas he's just so consistent, Garrick. And on the weekend, he almost, if he played like that every week, he is a superstar.
Yeah.
That's how good he played. So Garrick was unbelievable in his consistency. Last year, he was playing on one leg for most of the season at fullback, and he just didn't miss a beat. Hungriest player this week is Garrick. Get free delivery when you spend $15 or more when you use code Garrick. Let's get straight into it, shall we? What do you reckon, boys? New South Wales first or Queensland first? I reckon New South Wales first. That's the biggest dramas, biggest Kevin Nangamas. At 1, Tedesco. 2, To'o. 3, Latrell Mitchell. 4, Tom Trbojevic. 5, Josh Adokar. 6, Luai. 7, Mitchell Moses. Junior Paulo at 8. 9, Cook. 10, Haas. 11, Frizzell. 12, Young. 13, Yo. Uta Ikamanu at 14. 15, Murray. 16, Martin. 17, Reece Robson. 18, Crichton. And Kolamatongi at 19. What do you think, Timmy?
Yeah, firstly, love the Kevin Nangamas. I would have gone with the Matt Sramas, though, personally. I'm pretty happy with it. I love, granted, it sort of happened at the expense of Api Coruscant and a broken jaw, which is a horrible way to get into a team. But I love Damien Cook back in the 9 jersey. I was sort of pretty keen on him for game 1, and that was not having a knock on Api Coruscant. It was just, I think the service that Damien Cook brings from dummy half, take out his running game, take out his defence, all these sorts of things. Number 9, number 1 job is to give good service. And I look back to the 2021 series when we were just spreading the ball from side to side, our ball movement was so good. And it all come off the back of just Cook. He was so crisp from dummy half. So I really like Damien Cook in there. There are a few things that perhaps I would have gone differently with, but it's not a team where I go, why is this bloke in there? Why is this bloke in there? So, hopefully it's a winning formula for the Blues. And I think despite sort of backs against the wall, I think we can get the job done. I don't mind it.
Matty?
Yeah, I'm not overly... I reckon if you dropped this team to me a week ago, I'd be way more shocked. I think if last Monday you were like, if the Luai and Moses is going to be the halves combo, I would have said no way in this world. But I feel sorry for Nicho Hynes. I wonder how he's feeling at the moment. He was putting the team at 14 last game, came on the field with no real plan or whatever. He just came on with an injury and then unfortunately had that missed tackle. And then... it's we can't gloss over it. He had a shocker on the weekend, so maybe that contributed to him not being picked. But if he was the man 3 weeks ago and he's not even in the team now, I just don't know what he's thinking. So I hope Freddie's spoken to him and, he can put his best foot forward after this because it would be a huge dent to the confidence. Happy for Moses. I get it. He's got the kicking game, he's got the running game. He's been there once before. We need a goal kicker. That's a huge one. The thing that really baffles me, and I don't understand it, is why Matt Burton isn't the 18th man. Because we've got no cover on the bench now that we've got the Cook and Robson thing. So Stephen Crichton at 18th man makes no sense to me. I don't know if they'll bring Burto in or whatever, but I think someone a bit more well-rounded should be the 18th man. I know that's if we have an injury or whatever, but with HIAs, there's every chance. So that's the only thing that's kind of that I'm questioning. But the actual 17, I understand why they've picked everyone they've picked.
All right, let's talk about the big one. Mitchell Moses at 7. I feel so bad for Nicho Hynes. I am such a fan of Nicho, and I'm such a fan of his progression and how far he's taken the Sharks. And I'm a man that would have had him at 7 before the weekend. A lot of people will go, well, hang on, he's been playing such good footy for 16 or 18 months. Why would you just judge one game? But unfortunately, when you look at it okay, Freddie has one game. So everyone knew that people were playing for positions on the weekend. Everyone knew that Moses was playing for it, Hynes was playing for it, Reynolds was playing for it. Now, I don't think Nicho Hynes needs to go out and set the world alight. He could have just got beaten by a better Storm side. But I think that what made it hard, I think, for Freddie to pick Hynes was he didn't just not be solid. He had a pretty poor game, probably one of his poorest games, unfortunately. As I said, I love Nicho, but probably one of his worst games. And so the question has to be asked, and it's harsh, it's brutal, but that's what Origin is. It's ruthless. Is if he struggles in this game where going for the jersey, how is he going to go up at Suncorp? Now, he might have turned around and bounced back and killed it, but how can you make that call as Freddie? Whereas, people will say, well, Mitch Moses played the Bulldogs. For sure, the Bulldogs are nowhere near Storm's level. I understand that. But I don't think it's a matter of how they dominated the opposition. I just think it's because Hynes made quite a few errors and played poorly that probably cost him his spot.
Yeah, a few things that stood out there. Probably the first one, Matty saying, if you saw this side a week ago, it would have surprised you from the weekend result. Not so much, and I completely agree with that. What probably surprised me most with the Mitch Moses selection and the chat around that, it was that I had it under pretty good authority that Mitchie was the front runner for the halfback spot leading into the weekend.
That is strange to me.
Yeah, so when you come out of it and you saw Nicho had an ordinary game down in Melbourne and then Mitchie Moses against the Doggies on Monday, with all this pressure on him to come perform, playing for New South Wales Blues 7 spot, he delivered. And okay, I understand it why he's there. But, yeah, I believe that Moses was leading into the weekend, whereas I'm with you, mate. I was certainly leading into the weekend. Nicho would have been my number 7. Now, the weekend's played out as it was. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe Freddie was going in completely open-minded, split between all the candidates. But now I understand Moses. I nearly would have backed Nicho. I wonder in terms of that 7 spot, Freddie needs to win, doesn't he?
Yeah. It's just one game. That's a problem. I think if you're going into game 1 of the series and Nicho had a poor game heading into it, you go, look, one game, but it's coming off, a really poor game from Nicho into a Suncorp decider. That's
yeah, because I think even, I don't get too far ahead of ourselves, but if the Blues do lose this game and game 3 becomes a dead rubber, Nico comes straight in, and I think he has to because it's a dead rubber. You may as well give the bloke a crack.
Yeah.
Starting number 7. I'm with you. I feel so sorry for Nico that he came on at a position he's never really played before in game 1, 10 minutes, and I understand him not being on the bench. I think that was a mistake in the first place that he was used as our utility when he probably covers fullback in the halves. So if he's not going to be 7, I'm happy not to be in the 17 based on the squad that's been picked. But, yeah, you can't help feel sorry for him.
Yeah, oh, mate, it's just one of those situations where we have to remember Nico is still early in his development. And I just think that after the game on the weekend, it showed that, he's human and there's still a ways to go in his development. We have to remember this is his second year as a 7. Second season. So he's not even all the way through. He spent a year and a half as a 7 at NRL level. And so I think, there's some things that he can learn.
And the reality is with Nico, as big a fan as we all are of him, we think there's probably a spot in the Blues team long term for him. Sharky's record against top 8 sides this season and last season, not terrific. Lost the 2 finals games last year. This isn't to say he's not a pressure player, but I'm putting out the facts that are in front of us. Yeah. There was a big game for him on the weekend. Granted, the Sharks got battered from pillar to post. He didn't have a lot of opportunity to do much in this game, but it was another pressure game and he didn't stand up for it, unfortunately. Mitchy Moses did in a massive game, and he had 2 cracking try-assist line breaks within the first 20 minutes. And he's put his hand up, hasn't he?
And I think with Hines, if he had just been solid and got beaten by the Storm, I think I personally would have selected him still, because I would have been like, solid, Storm are a better side than Sharks probably anyway. That's arguable, but at home. But I think it's just a fact that he did have quite a few errors that are uncharacteristic of Hines. And it wasn't, usually if Hines makes those couple errors, he finds a way back into the game. And I just don't know if he did yesterday. So, I kind of feel like it was, I personally would have probably gone Reynolds or Moses, even though last week I was Hines. But as I said, heading into a decider, coming off that game, that's a risky proposition.
What I do think with Moses, and it's a credit to him, is that it's so funny because it's so polarising views of how the Blues have selected their team and how the Maroons have probably selected theirs. In that Origin historically is one on defence and just having this rock-solid defensive 17. You can win a game with a try or 2 tries. We've seen it time and time again. And Mitchy Moses' defence in the last 18 months to 2 seasons, it's been really good. He had his defensive lapses and deficiencies earlier on in his career, but I think it's been really good, aggressive. His contact's been fantastic. Nico, still some question marks around his defence in the front line, and we've seen that with Cronulla. So in terms of that, Mitchy's probably a more solid 7. There's plenty of attacking upside in Mitchy Moses, but I wonder with Billy Slater, who just goes this all-out attacking approach of Reece Walsh, Jeremiah and I, who we'll get to shortly, who comes in ahead of the defensive-minded, rock-solid Felice Corfusi, overlooked him. With Billy's approach to all-out attack, would he have gone with a Nico Hines?
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Really tough. But
that's
the approach
sure.
they've both taken, isn't it?
I just think that with Mitchell Moses, because Mitchell Moses has also struggled to step up in some big games. Grand final, he was relatively quiet. Getting into the grand final, he actually had a pretty poor game and was more Brown and the boys that picked up the win, Cowboys. But he did play solidly in his Origin chance that he got, even though it was a dead rubber. So as I said, I love Nico Hines. I love the story of Nico Hines. But just even Cleary, if you go back and look at the start of Cleary's career, he took a few years to get going. And so I think that even heading into game 1, if Cleary was injured, I would have put him at 7, even if he did have a poor game. But it's just the fact that you're heading up to Suncorp for a one-off, coming off that performance, his confidence would be rattled. I mean, I'd assume it'd be rattled right now. He wouldn't be human if it was.
I reckon.
What do you reckon?
Just with the Moses thing, if you take away everything that Hines was their last game, whatever, if you have them all at face value, and this is just my opinion, I reckon Moses, he doesn't stand out in any attribute, but he's in the top 2 for either. So for example, kicking game, Reynolds is probably the best kicker, but Moses is second. Running game,
well, Clear, I'd say.
Oh no, I'm
Cleary.
I'm talking about the 3 available. So Hines, Reynolds, and Moses. Then you got running game, him and Hines. You got ball playing, he's up there. Defense, they're all pretty good. Goal kicking, Reynolds and thing, age. Obviously, Reynolds is a bit older, so, fresh. Then you got experience. He's in the middle there as well. So he's kind of like, I'd say he's the most well-rounded right now out of all of them. So I guess that definitely worked in his favour too.
And I think with Renault, even though he scored the match winner, he did struggle a little bit in the first half. And so I wonder, it's hard. It depends how close Cody Walker was to getting selected. Because if Cody Walker gets selected, I think it's a no-brainer that you go Reynolds. I think you'd be insane to go Reynolds Luai when you've got Reynolds Cody Walker there. So I think that's probably what got Moses across the line. Would have I gone Moses over Reynolds? I'm really unsure. I'm just unsure. What have you gone, Reynolds or Moses?
I would have gone Moses. Sort of look at, he's 32 years old now, Adam Reynolds. I mean, by no means old. He turns 33 next month. So there's so many different factors in this because you're adding in Luai at 5'8". You've got Nathan Cleary's return next season. Game one next year, realistically. You have to give a bloke an opportunity to win this spot. The fact that Mitchy Moses is, I think, in the prime of his career, there are some good years left in him. If he does come in and takes us to a series win or a game 2 win and then holds his own in game 3, whatever, there's no reason why he can't be here longer term. Adam Reynolds, you're sort of picking for this series and, maybe next year, when Cleary does come back, you're not really going to go Reynolds and Cleary. Yeah. So it's a really short-term fix by going him. I agree that if Cody Walker was fit and good to go, that he would have complemented Cody perfectly. So I would have understood that. But the fact that Cody wasn't there and wasn't selected, I like the Moses pick over Adam Reynolds.
Okay, we'll ask a question. Who would have you gone out of all three of them? They've gone Moses, but who would have you gone?
By a narrow margin, after the weekend's games, Mitch Moses.
It does depend on the 6, but if they're going to stick with Luai, I probably just would have gone Moses as well, just for the reasons I said before, most well-rounded. The one thing that isn't in his favour is that the Broncos are killing it this year, and Reynolds has been in the middle of that. And I know the Sharks are 5th and the Eels are 9th, but I'd argue they've both been disappointing years so far for both teams. So it's really hard, and I don't want to sit on the fence, but I probably, if I had to answer, I'll go just Moses for what I said before. But yeah, it's tough that the Eels have had not the greatest year so far.
Yeah, before the weekend, I was locked into Hines. I thought game 1, if Cleary was injured, Hines would have been there. And also, he knows the systems, he's trained together. I know Moses as well, but he was part of the squad. But as I said, I just think, unfortunately, he just struggled and had such a poor game. And Moses was so good, so good. And this is coming from a guy that probably didn't even have Moses in the conversation last week. It was either Reynolds or Hines for me. I was looking at Moses more individually has had a good season, but the Eels have obviously struggled. But after the weekend, I just would have gone Moses. So yeah, but I will say, if they go up there and lose, you put Hines in straight away for game 3, in my opinion.
Agreed, yep.
You put him in, doesn't matter what happens.
It's a free swing.
Yeah, get him in there, give him an opportunity at 7. Will Cleary be back by then? No. So get him in there.
Most likely not.
Yeah.
What is interesting is that he's got the sort of 6-week time frame, which drops nearly bang on game 3. Imagine if Cleary did come back and plays. He's doing all this weird shit, isn't he, to get himself good to go again? Yeah. Is it some injections of some sort of I don't
Bloke
know,
beer or something?
Yeah, Bloke beer straight in the veins. He'll play next week.
Allegedly, that's what they're saying.
Imagine if they do get the win, Cleary comes out, plays the week before, round 18 for Penrith, kills it, and just anyway.
Yeah, it'd be a nightmare.
Because the time frame is time's bang on.
Yeah, for sure. I just think if they lose game 2, you've got to find a way to get Hines in there. Even if, let's say they lose game 2 and Luai struggles, I'd even go as far to say is Luai drops out, Hines goes in at 6, Cleary at 7.
Yep.
I just think Hines needs a shot, just not at Suncorp game 2 after the weekend. If he come out and was just solid, but if Mitchell Moses comes out and kills it, that's great for New South Wales. Finally, you've got 2 7s that are genuine Origin level 7s.
I think long term, personally, my ideal New South Wales halves and I'm looking 5 years into the future, is Cleary at 7, playing in the middle, directing everything, and then Nico Hines at 6, going side to side. That's my ideal 6 and 7.
I think, look, the thing is though that like Luai, under all of this pressure, all of this negative chat has been outstanding. Outstanding. And so at the moment, you have to give Luai his props. He is held off the competition by good rugby league. So everyone can talk and chat and rah-rah, but he's held off the competition through his actions.
And I'll tell you what, he was good against the Roosters with no Cleary.
They tear them up.
Jerome, every time we want to try and question Jerome Luai or being Cleary line, he just steps up. He wins. He's rock solid in D. We know he's got an attack. I thought he was really good in game 1. So coming into the series, and I was one person who, game 1, I probably would have gone, I think I had Cleary and maybe Nico at 6. And now I'm like, you know what? Like, why not Luai?
Yeah.
He doesn't put a foot wrong.
He doesn't. And we talk about like pressure and stepping up for jerseys. He's stepped up. The difference is he's a polarising character that isn't beloved by, other fans outside of Penrith. But he has stepped up. He stepped up in the World Cup. He stepped up in 2021. Go back and watch that debut. It was that was his debut. The record margin win in that game 1 was Luai's debut. Go look at the tries. Who was involved in them?
Imagine if... And look, I love Jerome Luai as a bloke. I love what he brings to the game as a footballer. If he, though, as I said, he's a bit polarising, but Nico Hines, beloved by all. Like, if Nico had Luai's resume, it'd be like, there wouldn't even be a question.
It wouldn't be a question.
Like, he's in there, boom, everything.
Oh, 100%. Like, if Luai was as loved as Hines, there'd be riots in the street of if he was getting considered to be dropped. Kind of thing.
Luai hasn't done this for half a season. He's done it for like 3-4 years now.
Yeah. So, and I think like this series, obviously he has to come out game 2 and play well. He's doesn't have a mortgage on the jersey, but so far, outside of last year where all of the Blues struggled, he's stepped up in the big moments. He stepped up in grand finals. He stepped up in final series. He stepped up for Samoa. He stepped up, and it probably stings people to hear that because he is polarising. But at the end of the day, what would you rather? A dude that is stepping up or a dude that, so...
I know he's polarising, and when you're in the opposition, it pisses you off, and I get that. Like, we lost the grand final to him, I get that. But I loved in 2021, like the Origin series, when he's just chirping at the Queenslanders. Like, when you're on his side, you absolutely freaking love it. It's kind of like South with Cody Walker. Like, I know that a lot of people don't like Cody Walker because of his spats on the field stuff, and South fans adore Cody Walker. It's kind of the same thing. But when he plays for New South Wales and he's like chirping at Kafusi and maybe not the Cobo thing, but everything else, you absolutely love it.
Yeah, for sure. Now, last kind of talk about this, Nico Hines at 14. Now, I initially had Nico Hines at 14 for my game 1 squad, but it was if Hughes had a game plan. So bring him on at a certain period, put Luai at 9, even Cleary at 9 maybe. I know it sounds mental, but let's just hear me out. I didn't agree with the fact that there was essentially, he was just there for an injury. I just think with Origin, you need to use 17 blokes in a game plan. And so I actually think that they're doing him a favour by not putting him on the bench again. And also, it's a better game plan to have Reece Robson on the bench than it is to have, say, Nico Hines.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't think he was sort of the option at 14 in game 1, and I'm with you. I think they've done wonders by him to say, go back. The Sharkies play this week in round 16, so he's available there. And I don't think there was room for him on the bench, which sounds interesting, like a bit weird because he is pretty versatile, but not versatile in the positions that we need him. And to be honest, I probably would have had Matt Burton on the bench because he is so versatile. I do look at that team now and go, like, the way the modern game is with HIAs, all these head knocks, all these injuries, all sorts of things. We've got Latrell Mitchell who's under a big injury cloud. Tom Trbojevic, who's always under an injury cloud. Josh Adokar, he came back from injury a few weeks ago. One player goes down. We're pretty light on for backline player. And I don't love, at any level of footy, a bench without a genuine backline coverage. And we saw in game 1 that, and I was all of 11 minutes, but Nico had to come on and cover a position that he hadn't played before. And he was a backline player. And it didn't cost us the game single-handedly by any means, but he wasn't the right fit to come on at centre. I would love Matty Burton on the bench there.
Yeah. and we spoke about this on Packer Up Boys, the only reason why I wouldn't have Burton on the bench is I just think that in Origin, you probably need to give your hooker a rest for 10 minutes or at least move him around a little bit. And I think that with Reece Robson there, you can get him on the field with a game plan. Cookie gets a little bit of a rest. Also, one thing, and we kind of nutted it out on the show, is that the good thing about Burton on the bench is your halves are covered and your centres are covered. So he is there if there is an injury. He's probably a better option than Reece Robson. But I will say, with Reece Robson in the side, you get a game plan that you can use 17 players, but also the unknown factor or someone that can cover the halves is Latrell Mitchell. He can actually play 6. And so that's where you go, okay, maybe we don't go with Burton on the bench because Trell Mitt can play, unless obviously it's Latrell that gets injured, then you're sitting there going, we don't have a centre to cover the centre. But
Yeah. And I get that, but I think it's a stretch because, as I said, sure, Trell Mitt, a bloke who I don't think, to my knowledge, has ever played 5'8", has to go into the halves. You then don't have centre coverage, so what, Cam Murray probably goes to centre, which we know he can do a job there, but again, far from ideal. I'm warming, and especially hearing to all these NRL legends say they love the 2 hooker rotation. I sit there and go, all right, well, something that I've been happy to see Damien Cook go on there and play 80. You know, you got to stand up and listen to these blokes who've done a lot more in the game than I have. So I'm certainly warming to the 2 hooker rotation, and I wouldn't have minded it being sort of like a 1-2 punch of Appy and Cook if Appy was available. But surely Damien Cook, who is an 80-minute out-and-out player, if you want to give him a rest, put Cam Murray into hooker for 10 minutes. Give him his little breather. You got a breather at half time, a 10-minute breather, midway through the second half, whatever it might be, and carry Matt Burton.
Where would you inject Matt Burton if there's no injuries?
He can come on and play as that link man as like a 13. I know, sorry, Isaiah Yeo does it, but like, what have Queensland done with Ben Hunt, Daly Cherry Evans, was it Cooper Cronk early in the days when they were the 14? They just came on and had them as another ball player through the middle, chime in wherever. I think they could have done it.
So you'd basically play him at 13. The only problem, I guess, is like Isaiah Yeo is already like that guy. So does that swing things out of proportion? Because whereas like Paddy Carrigan, for example, is more of a front rower 13.
Well, that's the other thing. Like Isaiah Yeo, we know he can go 80 easily. Like he literally played 80 in Origin 1 and then played 80 3 or 4 days later for the Panthers. But if you want to inject him and you want to kind of be that sort of link man through the middle, a fresh body, he can take a few hit-ups. Like he's a pretty big boy, Matty Burton. Could he come on for 15 minutes and give Isaiah Yeo a bit of a spell, and that's how you inject him as X-factor midway through that second half, and he's there to cover so many different positions. So I would have had Burton there on the bench.
What about you?
Yeah, I've been toing and froing about this pretty much since Friday. Like from day one, since game 1 finished up until last Friday, I was like, Matty Burton's got to be the 14. Matty Burton's got to be the 14. But then you think about how Queensland used all of their 17 to a specific game plan, as you said, and it does make sense to me that Reece Robson is on the bench. If we lose a centre, that's when we're in trouble. But it's a decider. I think Freddie got a lot of criticism, I think, 3 years ago when Teddy got injured and he didn't put Paps on the bench, which was pretty crazy. But he did also that was a four forward bench. It was Finucane, Junior Barlow, Nathan Brown, Isaiah. It's funny how the game's changed in 3 years. Like, that would never happen now.
But Matty, are we in trouble? You said if we lose a centre, if we lose a 1-7, anyone in our back line? I don't see how it's...
Well, Cam Murray could go to... I reckon Cam Murray could play centre and then you push a centre out to the wing.
He could. He could. But
I actually like
it's not
Cam
ideal.
Murray. I actually like Cam Murray more at centre than I do him servicing at hooker. I just don't know if he services at Origin level.
That was like if I wanted to carry Matt Burton on the bench, I fully understand that. All right, there needs to be some cover there for Damien Cook. So it'd be like a 10-minute play to give Cookie a breather to come back in the back end of the second half.
I just don't know if he has good enough service for Origin level. Like your attack is stunted for 10 minutes.
And it's far from ideal. However,
it does get
for the team that I want to pick, there has to be. Put it this way, I still think Damien Cook could go 80. But if there's a moment there where Freddie just goes, Cookie needs a bit of a spell, he's made 45 tackles in 55 minutes, if it had to happen. So ideally, I think, no, Cam Murray doesn't go to hook. I think Cook plays 80.
Yeah. And then so if you had Burton on the bench, though, Cam Murray, he comes on as a bit of a link man through the middle. Would you keep them off at the same? You know what I mean? Then Cam Murray may get less minutes if Burton comes on as a link man.
Not so much. Well, Cam Murray doesn't have to come on as a link man. We know that's a great role he plays for the Bunnies, but he can just come on as an out-and-out ball-running middle forward.
A front row and just give...
And like if you've got Yo and Murray on at the same time, which they will be for a big portion of this game, I think it was about 50 minutes of game 2, Yo can stay the link man. Murray just plays as middle forward. Quick play balls, plenty of runs.
See, I like Reece Robson selected, not because I said he was a smoky at the start of this year, not at all.
But mainly that.
No, I like Reece Robson as well, is because he essentially has the same body shape as Cotter. And he can be Cotter for New South Wales, in my opinion. He's one of those guys that just goes out there, really physical, can play 9, obviously can definitely play 9, definitely could play lock, in my opinion. And also I reckon he could play in the middle if he had to, kind of like what Cotter does. Because I think size-wise, they're about the same. Like, I don't think they're that much difference in regards to weight. Like, Reece Robson is quite a stocky hooker. So I actually really like the Reece Robson one.
So here's one for you on Robson. And then I want a Birdo, but I don't have a knock on Robson as such. I think he'll come in there, could be one of them blokes that the game finishes, like Queensland I say, built for Origin. He just gets it.
I reckon I'm pretty confident Robson will have a good impact on the game.
So when you say that he could play 13, which I agree, I think he could come in and play some decent minutes, not decent minutes, but enough, as a 13, if not needed at 9, could you have gone Robson and Burton, and then you are covered everywhere? Or is his lack of experience as an out-and-out middle ball running forward, is that a concern?
Well, it'd be who you lose then, though, because then you have to have one big man on the bench.
Yeah.
You can't not have Martin. You can't not have Cam Murray.
Well, you start Liam Martin on an edge, and then either of Hudson or Frizzell drop out.
Yeah, I think that this setup is the right setup. Going into a game, we're selecting the guy just in case someone gets injured. I just don't know if that's, even though I know that's not your game plan, I think Reece Robson's the right call. I really think he's going to excel massively in Origin. I do agree, though, Burton not 18 is surprising.
Yeah,
that is bizarre to me. But let us know in the comment section. Would have you gone Matty Burton at 14? 17 or Reece Robson? I just think Reece Robson can turn into your Ruben Cotter. I do see that happening.
What I'm happy about is that, this is what the chat for the last 15 minutes has been. There's basically 2 options. Either we're covering for injury or everyone gets there's a specific game plan for everyone. Obviously, there's pros and cons for both, blah, blah, blah. I just like how we had Hines on the bench in game 1. Didn't work. He didn't really have a plan for him. I like that Freddie's using the more positive approach to this one and pretty much not mimicking Queensland, but that's what Queensland did in game 1. So I appreciate the positivity of the game plan, everyone having a specific role to play instead of injury. Even though if we do get injured, we could be fucked, but I don't know, it's a decider. So I like that we're going all in. Personally.
Yeah, I just think that in Origin you got to have 17 blokes in a game plan. It's that hectic of a cauldron now. The speed is that fast. And I know Cookie played 80 in 2021, but he's 2 years older. The game has just gotten so quick. Yes, it was quick in 2021, but he's towed us up. What if the game was close? Could have he gone 80 if he was defending for 40 minutes straight, or 20, 30 minutes straight? I'm not sure. I mean, maybe he could have. I mean, every game that he's played, essentially except for one, he did go 80. But yeah, I just like Reece Robson.
And as usual, we're nitpicking. We're there's nothing wrong with the 18, 19 man squad. We're just what we would do differently. But all in all, pretty happy with what's been picked.
Yeah. Now let's talk about. I don't think there is. Look, I'll be shocked if Liam Martin or Cam Murray isn't starting, especially Liam Martin. Surely he starts, and either Hudson Young or it'll probably be Hudson Young. Yeah, will come to the bench. What do you reckon?
Rate it. Yeah. Liam Martin came on and was our best player in game 1.
And he killed it for Penrith.
His form for the last 18 months and then some, but he was so good 18 months ago and he's somehow gone to another level. I think Liam Martin has started an edge.
I think 2 reasons. One, Liam Martin's been absolutely killing it. This is between Liam Martin and Cam Murray. And 2, because of the way the team's set up, and Cam Murray might have to be used as a utility in different ways, I'd be probably keeping him on ice to start the game, even though...
so you keep Martin on the bench?
No, keep Murray on the bench. And I'd start Martin and just have his specific role on the edge there, and then Murray can come on if he needs to as planned, but if something goes wrong, then Murray can come on.
See, I just would have Cam Murray and Liam Martin starting. They're just so good, so important, and like I just want them on the field for as long as I possibly can.
Yeah.
Murray can always move into the middle. You bring Hutto on, you give Hutto 20 to 30 minutes, go mad. I just think Cam Murray needs to be on as long as he can.
Murray's my favourite player in the comp, and if he's starting 13, I'd love it as well. Like nothing against you, I'm just saying. But I do like that we're in Suncorp, it's a decider, and we've got someone like Frizzell running out. That experience gives me a lot of comfort.
And I'm saying I wouldn't be upset to see both of them like starting, so getting Murray out there for as many minutes as possible. But I agree with Matty in that, all right, if that's the bench we're going to run with and there isn't cover for the back line, Murray, you probably have to, as I said, keep him on ice a little bit that first 20, 30. If something does come up, the game plan changes, have him good to go.
But could you have him just move on the field?
Yeah, you could. You could, yeah.
I look back at when he was 2021, he started on an edge and just was honestly Fafita he just did such a good job. But ironically, for Australia, he was incredible coming on through the middle, and he didn't start on the edge, I don't think, ever. Well, in the big games, he didn't. Liam Martin actually was starting over him on an edge. So, it's. I think it's good that Hudson Young gets another opportunity. Obviously, he didn't have the best debut, but now that he's got that out of his system and he knows, okay, it's Origin, every little error or detail matters. I think he'll come back and, I'm confident he'll be much better this game.
Yeah, Raiders bias aside, I would have been really disappointed if Hudson didn't get another go. Even if he does get benched on game day and plays 30 minutes, sweet. That aggression off the bench. To cut a bloke whose form for a couple of years now has been so good, such a pivotal part of the Raiders outfit, a bloke we all agree, I think, he looks like he's built for Origin. On one underwhelming 30-minute performance, a few little things didn't go his way. I would have thought it would have been very harsh on him.
Stefano Utoikamanu, massive call up, and I guess hopefully fulfilling that promise that we kind of saw a couple of years ago. I probably would have gone him. Now. There's arguments that maybe you went the older statesman in Clemmer, or because Clemmer's been playing so well for the Tigers. Maybe the Saifiti brothers, but Stefano's been really good for the Tigers for the last few weeks, and he's just that special physique that I think can impact an Origin game. He's, I know Saifiti brothers can too, but unfortunately they just had quite a quiet year. I think one of them's they've been in and out with injury, some haven't they?
Yeah,
at different stages.
Injury, suspensions, all sorts of things.
I probably would have gone with Stefano as the big man on the bench. What do you reckon?
Yeah. I shouldn't say that surprised me because he's been in and around the squad for 2 years now. And, congratulations to him. It's been such a great rise from him. And, I'm happy enough with him there in the sense that there was no one knocking the door down out of the blokes you mentioned say, pick me. I think if Regan Campbell-Gillard had more games behind him,
for sure,
I would have had him in there, obviously. But off the back of one game, the intensity of Origin, how's your match fitness, probably a little bit tough. But again, and I know it's a must-win game, but if you look into the future, State of Origin can make or break players, and it could make Stefano's career where he comes in, he only has to play 30-odd minutes off the bench, 25 minutes potentially, and he could look right at home and kill it, and we could have a front row forward there for the next 10 years in Origin. I'm being optimistic, but we could.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and imagine a rotation of Haas Stefano if they both get going.
And Junior Barlow, Payne Haas, they're both big minute middles. We know Isaiah, Cam Murray, Liam Martin, all big minute players. So you're not necessarily starting him and saying, mate, we need 45, 50 minutes out of it. It could be 20 minutes.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Literally. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think he probably would have been a bit hard done by if another prop went in. Obviously, as you said, Gillard's only been back recently. Then the guys knocking on the door like Totola, he's been in and out all year, and he might get his chance one day, but it's just a natural progression. Stefano's been there in and around the squad the last 2 years, so why wouldn't he get picked in that prop spot? I think as well, you're right, Timmy, Freddie has debuted some props that were kind of people were kind of shocked about their selection, and they've absolutely killed it in the game. And the best two examples are the Saifiti twins. Jacob Saifiti's best game was probably that Origin game last year in the decider, and Daniel Saifiti killed it in 2019 and was probably our best player in 2020 as well. I know it gets looked over because we lost the series, but I thought he should have got the Brad Fielder medal that year. Clearly, he was good, but Saifiti was awesome. So, yeah, I think Stefano's a great pick.
I will say, though, Regan Campbell-Gillard was bloody good on the weekend.
Yeah.
He was bloody good on the weekend. So, yeah.
And then when we talk about match fitness and that come out from injury, again, we've just said Stefano's come in and might only play 20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Could Campbell-Gillard do that? Well, yeah.
Probably could. He probably could. So, it would have been a flip of a coin, really. That's how close it would have been because Regal Campbell-Gillard he's been so consistent for so long now.
Awesome.
Just talk about a career turnaround, Regan Campbell-Gillard. Unbelievable. But Stefano, super young. Haas, young. Junior Paulo, I don't think he's even 30 yet. The beautiful thing is if you stick with this kind of core, if you stick with this core forward pack, you can build something with this.
Yeah.
You can really build something with it. Honestly, this forward pack looks much more similar to Queensland's forward pack than in yesteryear, in my opinion. And I think Reece Robson, Cam Murray, Liam Martin, like that kind of smaller, faster forward through the middle. Then you got your big bopper. We usually have Collins or Tino as the big bopper.
To tell you what, talk about solving problems long term. If Reece Robson does come in and settles into the Origin arena comfortably and, maybe there's a period there where Cookie is on the field and Robson's playing a bit just as another middle running forward and does well, it'll solve some problems long term in terms of having these dual hookers.
Oh, mate, it'll absolutely, like that. That's Ben Hunt and Harry Grant, but Ben Hunt specifically. He is our point of difference. Like, he is the one player that you don't have that we have. You've got backs that can play anywhere across the back line. You've got utilities. But we've got Ben Hunt, who is a genuine, like, world-class number 9, but also one of the best halves in the competition. Like, it frees us up unbelievably. And then, obviously, you can play literally nearly anywhere else. He was in the centres towards the end. Keon Kolomatangi, yep, great. Agree with him at 19. Anything else stand out for you, boys?
Pretty good there, I think, mate.
I think Critter, like, even though I wouldn't have had him at 18, like, he was probably one of your best players. So, tough call from Freddie, but kind of understandable call. Latrell Mitchell and Tommy there.
Who's going to kick goals, you reckon? Latrell or Moses?
I reckon Moses probably.
Obviously, Latrell's got the calf. That probably answers it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Just with the Critter call, just what Matty said in terms of, and what we've just been talking about, we don't have halves cover. Let's say a half or a player on the field does go down to foul play and you can inject that 18th man. Like, imagine if Mitchy Moses or Luai copped a high shot and you could inject that 18th man and we still don't have cover for the halves when it could be Matty Burton.
Yeah,
it just
I'm
seems
shocked.
to make more sense.
Yeah, I'm shocked that Burton is an 18th man.
Yeah.
And especially when he was 18th man for game one. And I know that, the tough thing for Freddie with that interchange was I think that he had to wait for Tommy to fail his HIA, then he could inject Matty Burton. But you can't wait that long to make that decision. Like, he could have moved someone over there. I mean, could have he taken Hines off and put Burton on? Anyway, it's come and gone.
We looked up the rules for ages. I couldn't find it.
It's very vague. Anyway.
They didn't explain it to us.
Okay, and also Liam Martin, I mean, I'm assuming that the 11-day thing, very strange, because like when they came out with that rule, it seemed like a hard and fast.
Yeah.
No, 11 days. Cat 1, boom, 11 days. Now that I'm like reading things, it's like, well, he wasn't actually diagnosed, and I don't know.
NRL physio seems to think, and I'm 100% sure he's right, that you don't get called a category 1 straight away. I think you get called a category 1 after 48 hours. So I think that's where the grey area is. And he's got to go back and do some tests, and that's how they call it a category 1. But I don't know.
But then why do they say on the sideline he's been considered a category 1 head knock?
I think that's misinformation. He says you can't be category 1. I'll get out the tweet.
Okay, so maybe it's just the reporters and that have got it
Still
wrong.
Symptoms post-game, and then they do the testing 2 days after. And
he's sweet. Okay. Anyway, yeah, well, what a game. What a game, Mitchell Moses. And, look, for the people that wanted Cleary gone, You've got
your wish.
You got your wish. We'll see how you go without Cleary for the next 2 games. I will say, though, that, watching, when the 7 jumper was up for grabs and people were struggling for form, it made you go, I think we're not appreciating what Cleary, the consistency he brings week in, week out.
Put it this way, this might be controversial, but if we come from the clouds and win both these games and win the series without Cleary, I'm still picking Cleary next year.
He's that good.
Okay, sorry, a bit of clarification. So, yeah, I was half right, half wrong. So there is category 1, which is like when you get knocked like lying motionless, like seizure, tonic posturing, motor incoordination, blah, blah. So like the really, really obvious ones. Now, they said that Liam Martin showed symptoms of category 1, but they were going to have to monitor him. So, yeah, that was it.
But you can still get like exemptions in that. Anyway.
Well, I mean, yeah.
It will be interesting, though. If a miracle happens and Moses kills it, that game 1 selection is going to be so tough for that 7 jersey. So tough. Okay, let's get some store shout-outs before Queensland's selections. Dam Hotel, Wyong. Massive bottle shop with a huge stock of Bloke Lager and Bloke Midi, always selling for competitive prices. Stop in and see Andy and his team. Grab some Bloke beer. Clubhouse Hotel, one of our only stockists in Singleton, selling Bloke Lager for $19 a 6-pack. Plenty of stock in store, so head down to Clubhouse Hotel and grab some beautiful Bloke beer. Chatswood RSL Club, brand new stockist in Sydney, currently raging Bloke Lager as their beer of the month in the venue. Tim and his team have Bloke Lager cans for $5 a can through the whole month of June, which means if you were in Sydney and want to watch State of Origin 2 at a venue that stocks Bloke Lager, get down to Chatswood RSL and enjoy some Bloke beer. Only $5 a can. Woi Woi Hotel, drive-through bottle shop on the Central Coast, ranging Bloke Lager and selling for a great price. Head through and see Stacey and her team and grab some Bloke beer. On to Queensland selections. Reece Walsh at 1, Coates at 2, 3 Holmes, 4 Hamiso, 5 Tuolangi, 6 Munster, 7 Cherry Evans, 8 Collins, Hunt, 9, 10 Tino, 11 Fafita, 12 Nanai, 13 Carrigan, 14 Grant, 15 Flegler, 16 Cotter, 17 Fodawaker. What do you reckon about this team, boys?
Yeah, I mean, most of it picks itself off the back of the winning game 1. I think probably the 3 talking points there are Xavier Coates, Jeremiah Nanai and Mo Fodawaker. The 3 new faces come in largely due to sort of injury, suspensions, whatever it's been. And, yeah, looking at that side, pretty hard to fault, mate. They're probably 2 that stand out. Xavier Coates, I would have gone Phil Sammy. I thought Sammy had been excellent this year. He's a big, strong ball runner. He covers centre very well if required. I think he's had a massive year, Sammy. He's been there and done it before. Xavier Coates, if I'm being honest, I think he's had a pretty below par year. He was outstanding on the weekend, probably his best game of the year, but it took a Melbourne Storm absolute shellacking masterclass at home against the Sharkies for him to probably have his best game of the season. The aerial threat, we know how good he is, one of the best in the game, if not the best in the air, so that'll be huge. But I thought Samuel was probably the man there. Jeremiah Nanai. Initially, I was surprised to see him get picked over Felice Kaufusi because, again, Nanai I thought wasn't great to start the season. He was good in his first game back from suspension, but you just know with Nanai, we sort of spoke about it a little bit off air, Kempy, I thought they'd go with the bloke who's been there for years, the defensive presence, all intensity in Kaufusi, but Nanai will come in, you said it to me, Billy will get the best out of him. He'll probably score some mad, try and win the game for him. You just know. So, mate, no real knock on that. I would have gone Kaufusi, but I get it. So, yeah.
Yeah, much the same. I would have gone Kaufusi. I guess he's been suspended, though, so I wonder if he didn't cop that suspension, I reckon he's probably straight in. I probably still would have gone Coates over Sammy. I think Sammy's had a great year. I just think there's a little more upside with Coates. It's funny, we talk about someone like Garrick for the Blues. I reckon if Garrick was a Queenslander, he probably was a real shot of playing in that wing spot.
He probably would have got selected, close to selected.
Yeah, I think so. Not all surprise. It's good to see Corey Horsburgh in and amongst the squad as 19th man, and Brimo's 18th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think having him around there is good as well. I didn't think Nanai was any chance, to be honest. He was pretty poor to start the year, I thought. But yeah, Kaufusi hasn't really. He's had 2 big suspensions.
Kaufusi being the heart and soul of this Dolphins side who, everyone wrote him off the start of the year. And like when I look at their first month, 6 weeks of the season, I've just got visions of Kaufusi flying out of line and dropping blokes and running hard and like that's origin. I thought he would have been the man. Who would you have gone?
I just think that it's more a match fitness thing. I think that Queensland seem, even though, Nanai's come back, he's only played, one game?
They had similar suspensions. So Kaufusi, he obviously didn't get the 1 game back, but he played the majority of the season to that point.
It's a tough one.
Nanai only had 1 game back.
I think that maybe it's like a mixture of hasn't played much footy lately, also brain explosion, in that game, even though, you can trust Kaufusi. Whereas Nanai, he killed it at Origin last year. Was it? Yes, last year, killed it. And so I was surprised. And if it was nearly any other coach, or not any other coach, but I just think Billy Slater, anyone that plays under him plays to their best of their ability. So I'm just confident that Nanai is going to respond really well. I also think it meant a lot that Nanai came back and had the most runs he's had all year, ripped and teared for the Cowboys. I think that was sending a message to Billy that Billy was like, okay, I've got confidence on it. Yeah. And so that's probably what got him across the line. I mean, it shows you how, ruthless Origin is. And ruthless Billy is in his selections. He is willing to make big calls on, doesn't matter how long you've been there for. In regards to the Coates situation, even though Sammy for me would have been in the conversation and he would have been close to getting picked, he's another one. I just think Billy's going to get the best out of him. I think he's going to rock up and have a great game because Billy's going to be able to just communicate with him whatever needs to be communicated. And that's why. So, for example, Coates getting selected, I think it has a lot to do with Billy knowing Coates already. So, he would know what the kid's capable of. He would know how to get the best out of him. Because I agree with you, mate. I think Coates, aside from the weekend, has been extremely quiet. And I'd go as far to say as, since getting to the Storm, hasn't really fulfilled what we thought he would fulfill. But he was incredible on the weekend, and his potential we all know. And even against the Broncos, where that try disallowed was it was an amazing try. It should have been a try, and so that's his ceiling. His ceiling is tries like that. And I just, as I said, I have confidence in Billy in his ability to get the best out of those 2 kind of picks that have come out of nowhere. Not out of nowhere, but Nanai and Coates haven't had great seasons. They just haven't. Nanai's been quiet, Coates has been quiet, but is anyone really sitting here thinking that they're going to come out and be quiet under Billy?
Well, we saw last year. I remember going to the series, Nanai had his defensive deficiencies, and I was like, sweet, here's a place the Blues can really attack. And he stood up.
Yeah, he was so good.
I think from memory, wasn't there game 1? Was he exposed for 1 poor read early on? I might be imagining things, but then from there it was everything he did was near perfect.
Well, game 3 was electric, electric.
So,
pretty sure game 3.
That right edge would be Ches, Nanai, and then who was the other right edge?
Selwyn was right.
Selwyn was right. So Coates will come in on the right.
Yeah, I'd say so. And then obviously, on the other side, you've got
Coates has played on the right for Queensland before.
So then, Val.
So, surprising, Kaufusi, but I think he's an older body, hasn't played many matches before. Nanai has just got so much upside that they've gone, you know what? And also, I think it's very Billy, attack. I mean, look at our back row. Fafita, Nanai, and Carrigan. That is pure attack. Carrigan obviously is a great defender, but Fafita and Nanai, you are just you want to win the game by scoring, it sounds stupid, but scoring more points than the opposition rather than letting in less points than the opposition. And that sounds stupid, I understand, but what I'm saying is that some coaches go, no, I'm going to get 2 defensive back rowers and we're going to have a better defence than the... But I think Billy is confident in his ability to get Nanai and Fafita to buy into the defensive systems that he has. Outside of that... nothing else is surprising. Look, what only thing has changed is Tino's been named at 10, where he's named at the bench last time. Do you think that is because they knew Tavita wasn't getting selected? Maybe
Not sure because, but Billy's normally pretty good with his picks his team. There's no silly buggers. It runs out as
he changed his whole front row at game 1.
Yeah, but as I said, that was possibly based on what was coming out of the Blues, and as I said, that their bench and their starters. So I would say so.
And so, do you reckon they'll start Tino Lindsay and not Cotter? Keep Cotter on the bench, or they'll start Cotter?
I love Cotter off the bench and just come on 55 straight.
Yeah. I just reckon they started Cotter last game, as we've already discussed, just to throw a wet blanket over that fire.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get a fight from Cotter, but he's going to tackle his ass off. And that high pace for that first 20, he's just going to tackle everything.
Yeah.
Now, there's still going to be high pace, but the difference is you've got Payne Haas and Junior Polo, who they're big, lumbering bodies. They're not like Tavita Pangai Jr. is quite good laterally. And so you can understand why you would try to get a good lateral defender to defend against Tavita Pangai Jr. I think that you'll probably see Collins, Tino at 8 and 10. Look, it's the Queensland side is in a position where they can't afford to get complacent, because if this New South Wales side with quite a young, it's actually quite a young side, this New South Wales side, when you look at it, if they get a sniff and a win at Suncorp, all of a sudden they're going into game 3 in a just totally different mindset. Like, this Queensland spirit, you know what I mean? All of that shit goes out the window. So the one thing, and I know Billy and the coaching staff won't allow it, but that's the one they cannot go into this game going, we've got another one up our bout, or, we're at Suncorp, that'll get the job done for us. They need to go into this like this is a decider.
It's a great point, because I would argue that this is, in, say, the Freddie era from 2018 onwards, that this is the shortest Queensland odds have been. Like,
this is your 2020, even though it's not as close in regards to your team is. Your team is still under. I mean, it's got Trell, Mitt, and Tommy in it. It's still unbelievable, but in comparison, this is your 2020, in my opinion.
Yeah,
no, that's it.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, I'm knocking down on what I sort of spoke about a fair bit leading into game 1, but talking about all the rotations for the Blues, where they can cover, where they can't, it's still. Well, I mean, it doesn't concern me because I'm a Blues supporter, but there's still got a real lack of cover for that back line. I think we saw, I shouldn't say lucky, but you had Cobbo and Taulagi go down late in that game. They only missed about the last 10 odd minutes each.
Yeah.
So someone goes down early, and again, we've sort of already spoken about leading into game 1, but such little cover for the back line, because what did we say? Would it be Nanai or Fafita who would slot into the back line? But very, very light on. You covered 6 and 7, obviously, because you got
just that back
Benny
line.
Hunt there, but very light on.
Well, it's funny because it's like you kind of have that same problem now too.
We do, because of the 4-forward
Yeah.
bench, and that's the beautiful balancing act of picking a 17 and why there's no right or wrong answer, because you have to have the perfect utilities on your bench and be fortunate enough to cover all these positions, but very hard to do. To find that, the back rower that can also slot in and cover centre for you seamlessly, or very few of them exist. So, but again, Billy's obviously taking the approach of, I'm not going to play ifs and buts, and if there's an injury, I'm going to pick my best 17. If injuries happen, we'll cover them, and
I'll trust the players. We'll cover them.
We'll cover them.
Find something.
Whoever has to go out to centre or wing, whatever it might be, they'll do a job.
Yeah,
But I still see it as a big opportunity if anyone goes down.
Oh, big opportunity.
Because that's where we can attack straight away to that centre, wherever the forward goes out to Fafita and I.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And with the Blues side, as from a Blues perspective, this is still an unbelievably good side. Mitchell Moses made the grand final last year. You've got Latrell Mitchell, Tom Trbojevic, James Tedesco, To'o, Addo-Carr, Payne Haas, Paulo, Cook. Like, this is not. This is your 2020, but it's not comparable to the 2020 side. The reason why I think it's similar to 2020 is because you've got to go to Suncorp to win the game without your main man in Cleary, without Api Coruscant. Who else is one or two other injuries? Regan Campbell-Gillard just coming back from injury. Jake Trbojevic out injured. And so, as I said, it's not like the 2020 squad for Queensland was, had guys that were like struggling to make first grade. Whereas the reason why I think it is Freddie's biggest moment is because it's at Suncorp without Nathan Cleary, without Jake Trbojevic, without... So, but when you actually look at it on paper, this team can absolutely beat the Queensland side.
It's so good. And the big fact there that we've avoided so far, but it's Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
I am so excited to see Latrell back in this team where you just feel like he's in the peak form of his career, where on his day, I think he's the best player in the NRL. You know, someone like a Nathan Cleary, however you talk about, James Tedesco, week in, week out are unbelievable. But Trell, on his day, is the best player in the game. And I just see this as an opportunity where he's had a disrupted last month or so. He missed game one. You know, he missed the grand final for the Bunnies. It just could be that game where Latrell, we know the confidence he's got. He comes out and just busts you apart, and we go, it could just skyrocket his career in terms of his stature in the game of, no, I don't just dominate NRL. I didn't dominate Origin a few series back when the Blues were rolling. Because our backs are against the wall, it's a must-win game. I cannot wait to see Latrell.
Yeah. Oh, Latrell Mitchell, this is the stuff he relishes. Because when you go like Latrell or even GI, club footy, it's not easy. That's disrespectful to players around it. But it's like this level for me, when I want to turn it on, I just turn it on.
It is easy for them, though, at times.
Yeah, and I don't want to be disrespectful. Like, I'm one of those players that fucking was getting offended by GI. So, I'm not... But this is the opportunity where Trell goes, this is my level. Like, this is what will test my limits. Whereas club games and that don't really test his limits. Origin, Latrell Mitchell, the state needs you. You're going up to Suncorp. If there's one man in this team... You know, Tom Trbojevic obviously can, but if there's one guy in this team that's like made for these kind of moments, it's Latrell Mitchell.
Yeah.
It's Latrell Mitchell. It's that, folklore. Remember when you saw Latrell Mitchell? We had our backs against the wall. We had the game to win game one. We lost it. We actually lost it substantially over in Adelaide. And then Latrell Mitchell came back, put the state on his back and won in Suncorp. That's what could happen on game two.
I loved reading. Did you read the article about him, where he watched game one?
No.
It was so good to read it as a Blues fan because,
where's the article from?
I think it was Daily Telegraph. I'll double check, but basically it was Matt Rose, his manager. He watched it with him, and the whole game, Latrell's just one of those crazy fans on the TV, watching TV, just yell. Apparently he was holding a cushion the whole time, ripping it to shreds every time something bad happened. When the Blues lost, he was just a crazy fan, just. The passion that he showed for his state.
These are Trell's moments.
Yeah.
This is what he's been talking about in regards to I just need to win I want to win a Dally M or I want to do this. This is what he dreams of because he's already done everything else. There's nothing else for him to achieve. He's already dominated Origin. But can he have his folklore moment? Can he have his Cam Munster 2020 moment?
His Joey 05.
Yeah, can he do that? He might be able to do it. And if there's any player that can do it, it's Latrell Mitchell. So as I said, yes, for sure, Queensland at Suncorp should be favourites. But this New South Wales side is... Tedesco, To'o, Mitchell, Trbojevic, the Fox. That backline is crazy. Matter of fact, compared to Reece Walsh, obviously incredible debut, Coates, Holmes, Hamiso, Tuolangi, you would say that New South Wales backline is definitely better.
Yeah, take the Blues back paper. 5 every day of the week.
Yeah, and so it's that's a whole backline. It's really just it's just those. The only difference I see in the sides is just those little pieces that you can't really measure, and those players like your Cotters and your Grant or your Carrigan or your Flegler, they just kind of slot into that little 0.5% that gets them the victory. But on paper, this New South Wales team absolutely can win game two, and I think it's going to be a match for the ages. I really do. I don't think. I've got Queensland winning. I don't think I have them winning for by a substantial margin. I have a game for the ages. Something special is going to happen in my opinion. Something special. Alrighty, let's get into it. Titans defeat the Tigers 28-12. I mean, what a difference AJ Brimson makes to this side. But also, it wasn't necessarily the score that I loved from the Titans. There was a period in the second half, and I spoke about this on Packer Up Boys, but there was a period in the second half where they've got this on Channel 9, so 9 Now. Watch all your rugby league on 9 Now, guys. It's the best in the business, best commentators. 9 Now, you download the app, but you can also watch on your web browser. That's where I watch the big games. But there's this basically they have like a fatigue tracker. And what it does is it tracks how long the ball has been in played and with no errors. And what it basically is clubs train for about 2 to 3 minute blocks of fitness. Like you can't train, if you're training for a 9 minute block of fitness, you're almost doing just aerobic. Whereas like 2 to 3 minutes, that's usually how long the ball is in play or a try scored or a stoppage or whatever. What I loved about the performance from the Titans, there was a second half, the game was on the line, there was about a 9 minute block of the ball in play, and they hung in there and they won the battle, and that was essentially what won them the game. And that is what I want to see from the Titans, and they did it on the weekend. I thought that, yes, you know, Tigers aren't the best side in the competition, but they still had periods where they had to grind, and they did grind.
They did, mate. They put together for their first time in what I feel like is a fair while, you know, close to an 80-minute performance.
Yes.
Might not have been perfect, but we weren't after perfect. It was just like sharp for the second half because they'd been their Achilles heel for some time now and put together an 80-minute performance. And they did it. They held in when you thought, you know, they'll let the Tigers back in. We know they'll come back into this game. It's never that easy with the Titans. And they did. And AJ Brimson, he just, like, for a bloke with his injury history, he has every right to come back a little bit conservatively and foot off the pedal a little bit. It was his first game in over a month, and he had, in the first half, if not like the first 30 minutes, something like 2 or 3 repeat sets, a try assist. He just went ham on them.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, attack isn't what the Titans need as such, but he's so elite.
Yeah, you're right in regards to with his injury history. I honestly was close to putting him at 14 to ease him back into the game.
Yeah.
That, like, with his history, and he'd been struggling for so long, and then he just comes on and fucking kills it. Like, yeah, I'm not even going to bring up him at a better club because I know that pisses off Titans fans, but he is just so bloody good. Another one as well, when they put Jaden Campbell for a second time at 6, I was like, what are they thinking? Like, this guy he's an out-and-out fullback. If anyone should be 6, it should be Brimo. Now, it's only 2 games. It's against the Tigers. But so far, so good. I know he let in some tries the week before and they didn't play that great, but came out. He was solid on the weekend. Put it this way, there's more light in him being at 6 than there was for me a couple of weeks ago. For me, it was 100% no way. Now I'm like, maybe. Like, I'm still of the mind he's a fullback. I'm still of the mind he's fullback. But there's like a glimmer, a slice of light where I'm like, maybe he could grow into a 6. I'm not sure.
Yeah. He's certainly eased the pressure a little bit because he's been okay there. And defensively, I mean, we know the attack's in him. I'm still pretty hard against it. However, it hasn't been as damaging as we sort of probably anticipated.
I would be at like 2 weeks ago, 100% against it. Now I'm like 90% against it.
Yeah.
Or even 95. But let's just say 90%.
It hasn't killed them, put it that way.
Exactly. Like, it hasn't been this disaster where he's just getting absolutely dominated every time in defence.
There was the Koloamatangi one last week that early on in the game we just went, oh dear. But since that, he'd been okay. That being said, they conceded about 40-odd points to the Bunnies, but it wasn't all his fault. So
And also, Keon has done that to a lot of halves.
Absolutely.
So, like, as I said, I think we're both in the same boat here.
Yeah.
Like, 100% no a few weeks ago. Now it's like, well, he hasn't been a disaster there in defence.
No, I mean, they conceded 2 tries or something on the weekend, so...
So at 6, 25 tackles, 4 misses, which for a half, I know it sounds bad, actually isn't that bad. It's not good. You want to be around the 1 or 2, but it's not actually like dramatically bad.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
And even the 2 tries, there was the Clemmer one, which was straight through the guts, and then the Dream Buller one where he sort of went through that left edge.
That's
so
good.
God, what a try.
Far
God,
out.
that dude can play.
Yeah.
He went through the right edge of the Titans, so I don't think it would have been through Campbell anyway. So
yeah, so it's
hard
like,
fault.
You know, so far, maybe. Look, if he can sort his defence out, like, let's say he ends up being quite a good small defender, him with a ball at 6 all the time.
If they could make it work, and you've got a combo of him and Foles, let Foles run the show and Campbell as they're just swinging side to side, him and Brimo.
Far out.
Maybe
Scary
ambitious,
stuff.
but...
Very ambitious.
But exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get your thoughts on the Tino Apikoris here. I already gave him on Packer Up Boys, and I'll give my thoughts after you.
I haven't heard your thoughts on it, but talk about polarising. Holy crap.
Yeah, this was like right down the middle.
Mate,
pretty much across the state line.
And it's so hard because anyone's opinion you hear, it's like, okay, so is this dude from Queensland or New South Wales?
Yeah.
I thought it was a suspension.
Really?
I really did, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Put it this way. I feel sorry. I would have felt sorry for Tino if he did get suspended because it's a classic case of just a mismatch in you've got a small hooker going high on a big boy. There was no malice in it. He didn't try to hurt him, but people say that there was no arm lifting in or arm raising. Appy's jaw was broken. He wasn't bracing to clean him up in the head. It was literally the size mismatch. And people say, what was he meant to do? Well, he has to get lower and go down the chest and pump him there. Because, unfortunately, the way the game is these days, you can't make contact with the head. It's been like that for a long time now, and with each and every game that goes past, they get harder and harder and harder on no contact with the head. You can't tell me.
So now the onus is on the attacker as well as the defender. Because it used to be, the onus or the duty of care is on the defender. Like,
for sure.
If a player falls into it, the defender has to be the one that kind of moves out of the way. But now it's like you've got to literally be like, oh, there's a small guy. I've got to get real low to bump him.
You've got to get the bumpers lower.
Mate,
I hate it, but you've never been able to forearm to the head.
I think that was a typical bumping motion. Like, I didn't see any. I reckon you see that once a set.
Yeah. So how's he out with a broken jaw in like two places, wasn't it?
Well, because he put his head in the wrong spot.
And put it this way, it's like if he got suspended, I would feel so gutted for Tino because it's no malice. I just think if Origin wasn't this week, I think Tino gets 1 to 2 weeks and no one blinks an eyelid at it. But because it was Origin this week, I was like, does he miss it? Obviously, there was all this conjecture over it, and was it bad, wasn't it? I'm like, if it was an NRL game next week, I think he gets a week and no one asks any questions.
So do you think Hardgreaves also should have got suspended? He's on Spencer on Moses Leota.
I need to see Leota one again.
Yeah.
I need to have.
His elbow was quite out, but
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you're going to do one, you've got to do both.
Yeah.
And I don't think Hardgreaves got anything. I don't even think he got a penalty against him for that.
And just like he did the same thing 3 weeks ago to Reid Marnie, and he's such a big
He's
dude
6'6"
that it's going to happen. If it were up to me, I would be happy for it not to be a suspension and go, that's rugby league, big dude on little dude. You know, maybe you blow a penalty for high contact, but don't suspend him for it. Hardcore in the corner of don't suspend him. But with the crackdown on head contact to the head, I just think every day of the week. And it's another one where if Appy, and this one I hate, if Appy didn't break his jaw and he gets up and it's fine, you don't look twice at it. And it kind of annoys me that they do look into injuries that come out of it, but at the end of the day, they do all the time. And he broke his jaw.
That's what's funny though, is that he did get up.
Yeah.
He kept running. No one said anything.
Yeah.
Not even the commentators. It was only until he got taken off the field that it became an issue.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it was a penalty. I don't think it was a suspension. You can see that is bumping someone. You can see runs like that all the time. It's when you see elbows coming up like that is when I have a problem.
So you think forearm to the head?
I think forearm like that.
It's just a part of the bumpers.
It's a part of the
game.
bumpers. It's a part of the bumpers. You if you're going to suspend Tino for that, you'd be suspending the blokes literally once a set. Like that's how you run. Like you got the ball in this hand. That's how you take the contact. Like we see it all the time. But the difference is the contact usually lands there. The problem with Appy was he put his head like that instead of like that.
Yeah.
I personally don't think it's a suspension. What about you, Matty? What did you come down towards the end of it as a New South Welshman?
As a New South Welshman, he should be suspended until game 3. No, I think what was different for me is that like when you really slow it down, if he elbowed him in the head, even if it was the same height, I would have been like, all right, suspended. But the fact
it's elbow for me. If it's elbow, I'm like, suspend. But forearm, it's tough.
I will say though, if I'm happy with it, even though it happened twice in 3 weeks, you kind of like, if it happens again in the next month or so, then you start getting a bit worried. You're like, all right, well, you can't keep elbowing. You can't keep like breaking people's jaws.
Is it similar to the Suoliti situation where he'd got a letter, he'd gotten told, he'd gotten warned, you can't lift your knee, and then he...
Suoli has that high leg raise because he's such an athlete. He's like almost one of the most perfect running styles. And
He does lift his knee, though.
He does lift his knee, yeah. And again, it's similar in the sense that there's no malice in it. He's just him running. It's just him playing footy, and he needs to work on that. That's where I think with Tino, like at the end of the day, can you forearm to the head? No, you can't. Even if it's bumpers, you're not allowed to. It's contact to the head.
It'd be hard to police, though, because, again, watch every set, forearms hit heads. Like, you see players all the time go like that.
Yeah.
And they're getting forearmed.
Yeah.
Like, how often do you see that? So someone's gone like that, someone's gone and trying to tackle like that.
Yeah.
I just think it'd be so hard to police. If you brought that in, oh, man, you'd have it once a set. I do agree with you, though, that it is worth saying to Tino, just try to, like, this has happened twice now. It isn't intentional, but if this keeps happening, then you probably do need to change your technique. Because it can't just be the player's poor technique that's causing it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, then the argument could be made, well, then it's either black or white. It's either bad technique or not. I think everything's in the grey area. There's always nuanced arguments to everything. To say that, look, I personally, I think you see people run like that all the time. I think Appy got in his head, unfortunately, in the wrong spot, not intentionally. There's a massive height difference. Now, if it had been with elbow, like if his head had hit a bottom elbow like that, then I could have been like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And that's just to double down. If I was making the rules for the game, the interpretations, not a suspension, but on what we've seen in the past, contact head, all this sort of thing, Appy's gone for, 2 months minimum or something out of it. I couldn't believe it wasn't 1 week. Matty, do you think it was a week or not?
I know this is not this shouldn't come into it. I wouldn't have minded if you missed a club game. I thought it would have been a really, really harsh to miss an Origin game for that.
For sure.
And I know that is not how it's policed, but I just think it was a total accident, and
because like even Leota,
I don't think it was even that careless. I just think it was.
It wasn't. I don't think it was careless, but even Leota, like he got fucking fucked up, like fully split, blood everywhere. But his head was down quite low, and that was just like purely accident. And Hungriest, obviously, he does have a history of putting his elbows up.
So to answer my question, this is where I'm trying to be as impartial as possible with it all. If his next game was an NRL game, and they said that's not how it's policed, it should be, whether it's Origin, NRL, doesn't matter, would it have been a week?
Well, he didn't even get fined, so they didn't charge him.
I don't think it's anything.
Yeah, okay.
So-
Fair enough.
I don't think it's anything. I think it's rugby league. You're going to get injured sometimes. Sometimes unfortunate things happen. Like, for example, when I broke all my ribs and my lung collapsed, that was from a knee flying in as I was finding my front like that. And it's like, is that a penalty? Because I broke my ribs and my lung collapsed and I missed however many games? Like, no, it's not. It's just a flying knee accidentally that hit me. He went over the top of me and his knee hit me.
And
I wouldn't have been too, like, if I have to give you like a straight answer, maybe a grade 1 dangerous contact that's a fine. Maybe something like that where you don't get suspended.
The key for me is that elbows out. If your elbows are out here, that is a concern for me massively. Where like, not at the end of the, like if you're at the end of the push and your elbows are out there, that's fine. But if your elbows are out here before contact, that's a concern.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where it's become real dangerous, doesn't it?
For sure,
And
for sure.
For the fabric of rugby league and, you know, potentially losing one of the game's biggest stars to an Origin game for that there's, like I said, no malice in it whatsoever. I'm stoked that Tino got cleared and he's playing.
Devo for Appy though, because he'd worked so hard to put himself above, according to Freddie anyway, that he was the number 9 going forward. He'd worked his ass off, and then boom, unfortunate incident.
I'll ask you, Denon, but I want to ask you, Timmy. Do you reckon if Appy was fit, it would have been, now that we know what the team is, it would have been Appy Cook 14?
Yeah, I reckon, for sure.
Yeah, I think just showing that, like Robson, they can play as a ball running, like middle forward if they need to. But I think the way they'll probably play him is more so as just to give Cookie a spell and have that rotate. Yeah, I reckon it would have been them too.
But I actually think that they would have said to Cookie, we want you to do a bit of ball running as a forward, as like a 13 kind of player. Because I reckon Cookie, although he doesn't have the same physicality as a Cotter and a Robson, he's not as thick. Physically, he's a specimen of a player. Like, he's very strong in contact. I actually think he could do a little bit of a job of just, you know, if Appy and him on the field at the same time, Appy goes to link man, he goes to hooker, but he runs the ball more and gets into the game physically. But anyway, let's get back to Titans. Some good players. Obviously, like outside of the thing with Tino, I thought he was absolutely outstanding. I thought Verrills being back was massive for them. Service out of dummy half was really good. 44 tackles. Obviously, he missed 7, but still 44 tackles in one of your... Is he his first game back or his second
Verrills?
game back? Yeah.
First.
I mean, that's a massive knock. Tanner Boyd had some good moments. But Philip Sammy, holy, he's having a year. Let me read you his stats. A try, 28 runs, 290 metres, 73 post contact, 8 tackle breaks, a line break, 6 tackles, and no errors. What I love about Philip Sammy's game...
Sorry, it was Verril's second game back. He was first game starting.
First game starting, okay. What I love about Philip Sammy is a little bit like Karaz, like the competitive nature. Like he is in... Every run is like the last run of his life. And I just love players like that where it matters that much to them that... It's like Rapana to a degree. Every run is the last run of his life. And so you can get those errors or whatever... But you at least know every game Sammy's playing, he is ripping and tearing. He has been absolutely outstanding this year.
Yeah, and like coming off his own line, as you said, very Rapana-esque, where he just runs like a bull terrier. He runs so hard, and that's why, from a Queensland point of view, I thought his yardage coming out of their end, particularly with Walsh is elite coming on his kick returns, but he's a smaller body. Taulagi, solid. I thought Sammy would have been so good for your yardage coming out of your end. He's a great finisher. He's massive effort areas. Like this season... He's had a couple of try assists, 75 tackle breaks, 9 line breaks, 8 tries, averaging 158 metres. They're good numbers. He's so good.
He's a weapon, absolute weapon. Also, massive congratulations to Mo Fotuaika. We've been talking about it a bit, but he has been so good this year. And, you know, last year we really thought... 2021 when we got beaten, he was Queensland's arguably best in game one. He's probably our best in game one. He ripped and teared and everything was against him. And ever since then, he kind of just never seemed to take that next step that you thought he would back a club. This year, he has taken that next step. His consistency this year has been absolutely outstanding. And if he was at a bigger club, he'd be getting more raps. Because he's at a smaller club, the Titans doesn't get as many raps. But, you know, 13 runs, 138 metres, 50 post contact, 2 tackle breaks, 34 tackles, only 1 miss. Like, that's a great knock.
Yep. Yeah, congratulations. Fully well-deserved getting back into that squad. And to something we haven't touched on with the Titans, one of the most complete performances of the season, no Kieran Thorne or David Fafita.
Yeah.
Huge win.
Absolutely. And, like, I feel like we say it ad nauseum, but what was their completion rate? It was above 80%. It was above 80%. It gives them a chance to win games. 83% compared to the 70% of the Tigers. So, yeah, massive win for Titans. Now it's just about week in, week out kind of stuff.
Yep.
On to the Tigers quickly. Really disappointing. Really disappointing. But I want to talk about the positive first. Jerome Buller is a star. He's a star. Like the game's over. Everything's going against them. They're getting completely dominated. He just picks the ball up. He doesn't fend anyone. He fends a guy that dominates Origin. Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, boom, straight in the chest, and then just glides through that, and then also gets the ball over the line from a try saver from AJ Brimson. He still gets the ball over the line. The good thing for the Tigers is you got a star on your hands at fullback. He is going to be just... I'm not sure if he'll get into that top tier of like your Teddy or your Trells and your Tommies, but by God is he good enough to be in the top 8 in regards to a top 8 final side.
Yeah, on early signs, there's no reason why he can't be one of the absolute stars of the game. Like, people keep talking about his background as a basketballer, just this athletic freak. Every time you're watching any games, basketball this, basketball that. Isn't he a specimen?
Oh,
you use the word specimen. So athletic. He's tall, he's wiry, he's strong, quick. And then there are a lot of players in the NRL who have maybe not all those attributes in one, but these great athletic attributes. But he's got so much ticker on top of it. Like, the game's dead and buried, and once again, like 10 minutes ago, whenever he scored that try, he's still crabbing across field and giving everything for him. Last-ditch tackles, covering kicks. He looks very complete to me.
Oh, mate.
For a young bloke. Don't get me wrong, there'll be errors in his game. He's early in his career, he's still relatively raw, but he's got all the assets of the game to be a really complete, well-rounded fullback.
Oh, absolutely. He's got the size, the strength. His ball playing is getting better and better. He's got the fitness, so he can He can do 25 runs a game if you want. And he's got that special bit of magic about him. Yeah. The ball seems to bounce just like he seems to know where it's going to be. And he's quite footy smart. Like, he knows when to inject himself. So that's a real positive. Another positive is Clemmer and Bateman and even Papali'i. I thought they were quite good. At least they worked their asses off. Bateman had 56 tackles. 56 tackles.
One of my favourite parts of this game was particularly in the second half when Tino and Bateman were just going at it.
Yeah.
Not just the face-off, like they were looking for each other and just like at one point Tino's ribs were exposed and Bateman absolutely pumped him. Then 2 tackles later, Tino just took his anger out on someone else. It was fantastic.
Yeah, so good.
Who wins in a fight? The absolute Adonis that is Tino Malawi, or the absolute terrier from Northern England in John Bateman?
He's 6'6".
I reckon if it was on the street with no cameras, it'd be Bateman. And if it was in the boxing ring, it'll be Tino.
Yeah, I'm talking street brawl.
Street fight. Mate, it's, like Bateman has done everything you would hope he could do this year for the club, in my opinion. You know, he couldn't give more. Like he's brought there to bring a terrier to the game, just to bring a winner into that Tigers side. And yes, it hasn't been the best year overall, but there's been signs of life. And yeah, Bateman just worked his ass off. But outside of that, we've got to talk about it. Biggest news, Luke Brooks has said he needs more time to think about re-signing with the Tigers, reportedly. He's also just done his hammy as well. Unfortunately, the Tigers, Appy gone, Brooks gone. The season... And look, I love a Cinderella story, but the season looks done for him, like completely done.
How bad's the hammy, do we know?
When you pull up like that,
yeah,
it's pretty... It's at least 4 weeks when you pull up like that.
You do really wonder now where points come from in this side. Buller, obviously a breath of fresh air, and there's plenty in him, but they lose Appy and Luke Brooks, who was... It's the timing of it. He's really starting to find some good form, wasn't he? His running game had come back. The Tigers were playing good footy. Losing those two now, you're now going to have a halves combination of Brandon Wakeham, who didn't have the best game on the weekend, and it might be someone like Dane Laurie, or I can't remember who played half for the New South Wales Cup, but it's grim. It's grim. Like to lose them two buggers in the same game.
Now, Brooks, he said he's not ready to resign yet, or he's want to look elsewhere. I understand the frustration from Tigers fans of like, we've paid you so well for so long, take the smaller contract, show some faith. But also, I just think that so much has happened. This relationship needs to end, in my opinion. And that is best for both parties. Now, what's so hard right now is he literally just started playing some great rugby league. And it seemed like Benji was getting the best out of him. And I've got no doubt that Benji has had a lot to do with his form turnaround. But I think the relationship has to end.
Yeah, short term, there's obviously pain because they don't have their number 7 on the field. But you know what? It might be a blessing in disguise, because on this bar, the last all season, and probably even before that, we've sort of said that in the relationship, Brooks, you can go and flourish elsewhere. You can get a new 7 in to take control of this side. You could just see if he played another month of good footy, he re-signs on pretty decent money, and then this time next year we're back to the same point going, they've got him on another 3-4 years. So the fact that the hammies happen now, it sucked for the Tigers this season, but maybe they do sit back and go, all right, we look elsewhere, we find another one. So I still want to see Brooks hit another club. And
What do you reckon?
Yeah, sorry, nothing's changed for me. A month of good footy, like we've been saying for so long now that they've got to separate. It's just best for both clubs. And look, Luke Brooks has been heavily linked with the Cowboys. I reckon that'd be a half-decent shout. He's been coached by Todd Payton in the 20s before.
I don't know if I like that, though. I don't know. Can he be the guy, the 7, to lead a team around with Dearden at 6, or would Dearden get moved into 7? Actually, you know what? I don't mind it. When Townsend chooses to retire.
Yeah, this is assuming Townsend is apparently he's been shopped around. I don't know what the go is there. But yeah,
surely not.
A month of good footy doesn't change anything for me. And I just hope they make the decision now so the Tigers can plan for next year. But to me, leave.
As in, and it's for both parties, in my opinion.
Yeah,
just move on from this relationship. Now let's get on to the Warriors defeating the Raiders. I mean, it pains me to say this on Croak's 300th. On Friday before the game, I was going, I might change my tip, because the Warriors, this is a different Warriors side. To me, honestly, if they continue doing this, if they continue playing this way, it's the most exciting thing to happen in rugby league in a very long time. To have a New Zealand Warriors side fighting for the top 8 or even top 4, It is so good for the game of rugby league. I've been a part of the Warriors when they were going well, so I signed with them after I think they made a prelim, 2008, and then 2009 I was with them. I'm pretty sure our last trial match got a bigger crowd than the Auckland Blues round whatever match. It might have been one or whatever. That's how much New Zealand get behind the Warriors when they're going well. Everything that's going on in that club right now is unbelievable. And as I said, it's one of the most exciting things to happen to rugby league in a long time. If they continue this, and it looks like they'll continue this, we have to remember this is a side that salary cap isn't out of whack. They can recruit more players. They've had heaps of injuries this year. To go to Canberra and withstand that pressure, it was the score in the end, it's not irrelevant. A win's a win. But the mental fortitude, it's almost like a pressure cooker. You're going into Canberra territory. It's Croker, club legends, 300th game. And for the first 20 minutes, you are just a wall, like just a great wall. And didn't look like no panic, no stress. And that's what the game was won in that first 20 minutes, in my opinion. And that shows a mental fortitude that we just not have seen. These guys are mentally as tough as any players or any team in the comp. And the club is in the best position it's been in probably since 2011, maybe even early 2000s. I think this club is in an incredible position, and their performance on the weekend was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, myself and Guru obviously went down to this game, and it was a night of such mixed emotions because the Raiders firstly put on such a great event for Croke's 300th. There was that awkward Friday 6 p.m. time slot on a long weekend, and they drew a massive crowd to it, and just it was a very wholesome night for fans of the club and for Jared himself, obviously. And for the game to play out as it did, where it was a pretty one-sided affair with the Warriors winning convincingly, and then you sort of thought it was a disappointing result, and then you thought, they had the presentations at the end of the game. Thought, it might spoil them, but it wasn't. Like, for all those reasons you mentioned, Kempy, that everyone's just so far... Everyone's getting behind the Warriors this season off the back of what they've done for the game in recent years, and they're just such a likeable team. So if it was one of the more despised, like let's call it, clubs in the competition, the big dogs like the Roosters or the Broncos that went down there and smashed the Raiders, it would have been real sour. But the Warriors was like, you know what? They finished the game, and the Warriors obviously stayed out for the presentations and were gracious in victory, I suppose you call it, at all times. And he was like, you know what? It was such a resilient win for the Warriors. I thought the Raiders... I was so confident the Raiders would win this. Not because I think they're that much of a better team than the Warriors, just because I thought their attitude and what they'd be giving for Croke's 300th, and the Warriors had a relatively quick turnaround. I thought it was just set up for the Raiders. And for the Warriors to come in, and the keyword used there was it was unflustered. They were patient. That first 20 minutes, when the Raiders peppered them, I think we got through them, was the Whitehead tries off a deflection or off a kick or something, and we didn't look like breaking them. And it was relatively tight going into half time, and I just remember sitting there going, the Warriors have hardly had a sniff. I think they got one crack and they scored. Like, we're in strife here. Yeah. And credit to the Warriors, they were way too good.
They were so good. And just that pace, they looked so unflustered. Like, there was no panic. There was no guys shooting out of the line, trying to fix things themselves. They all stuck to their systems. It's just an incredible win. The mental fortitude to do that. This is a new Warriors. This is a new club. And as I said, so exciting for rugby league. A guy like Charles Nicholson, couldn't get a start at the Raiders. Now, some people feel like he signed and then he got moved on. No, I'm pretty sure he was playing New South Wales Cup before he signed with the Warriors. He couldn't get a crack. It seemed like, in my opinion, it seemed like Ricky had thought, look, I've got some young, exciting guys coming through. Chan's form wasn't that great because he was coming back from injury. I think he'd fallen down the pecking order. And so for him to come back in this game and play the way he did, it just shows you the character of Chance, and it also shows you why when they signed Tuivasa-Sheck, Andrew Webster came out straight away and said, no, there's no other fullback than Chance. RTS will be playing in the centres. If that doesn't show you that there's more to rugby league than just your talent on the field, I don't know what will.
Chan's one of the most lovely human beings on the planet, and certainly in the rugby league. There was that moment where, unfortunately, he went through Croke. Croke missed the tackles, sort of Bernie's on his outside a little bit. Chance almost looked disappointed when he went through. It's like, I'm so sorry to do that to you, Croak.
Correct, yeah.
Puts the ball down. There's a bit of, like, I don't know if it was a mini fist pump or something, but you're like, even that in a weird way was a wholesome moment of Chan's being beautiful, the respect for Croak, and there was no hooting and hollering.
If you want someone to do it to you, you want it someone that you love. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'd rather it's someone I love than someone I hate fucking skin them in the
Chan,
outside.
they had big celebrations for Croak the following night on the Saturday, and Warriors will be on the bye next week, but Chan stayed around. He was at that again. So still such a beloved member of the club.
Yeah. So, and like this Andrew Webster, I mean, unless everything just goes completely off the rails, he's almost a lock for Rookie Coach of the Year. Like, I just cannot believe what he has managed to achieve. Like even Metcalf, he's slowly getting to what we know he can do. But we're talking about when Tamade Martin comes back, Metcalf might not even be in the side. Like that, this is a similar-ish to what happens with Billy Slater and bringing people into Queensland. Andrew Webster's doing that for the Warriors players. Like, Chance looked like he just lost a step after those injuries, but ever since he got a bit of confidence behind him at the Warriors and some game time, he's been outstanding. Like, even with Tenny Zalesniak, like, he's playing like a man possessed. You know, we'll go to talk about it. I'd hate to talk about the same players over and over because, like, it feels unfair to the rest of the team. But, like, Sean Johnson, this is unbelievable the way he's playing. Unbelievable. He starts in 68 minutes. A try, 3 try assists. 3 try assists. Now, this is the same Sean Johnson that for a long time had the knock on him. He couldn't step up in the big pressure games. The pressure was on here. Like, you're at a 300th for Croker away from home, and you are the man that needs to get the job done. And we spoke about it before the podcast, but isn't it funny how off-field attitude usually marries up with performances? I don't think, like, Sean Johnson has always been known for his incredible talent. But I think a few years ago, if he goes off with a head knock, I think he stays off. I think he goes, you know what? Be smart. I'm a key player. Why would I go back out there? This new version of Sean Johnson demanding to go back out there. So I'm pretty sure Andrew Webster said, no, Sean Johnson was demanding he needed to be back out there. If that isn't evidence of a new man, like almost a boy growing into a man, I don't know what is. Like, that shows you the new SJ that we've got, and he doesn't look like slowing down.
We went from at the start of the season going, are there many legs left in the old bugger? Can he hack it with the best of the NRL and the speed of the game? And then a few rounds in, we're going, there's still a bit of life left in him. By around 7-8, you're going, no, he can actually like add some quality to this Warriors team, still some attacking threat in him. By round 15, you're going, he's playing as one of the elite halfbacks in the NRL.
Yeah.
Not just holding his own.
Yeah, exactly. Not even like, you give him a few points because he's older. Like, sometimes when an older 7 plays decent, you say they played great because they're older. No, he is literally playing as good as any 7 in the comp right now.
Yeah.
He's made our team of the week, 2 weeks in a row?
This week, some of the performances, I love with the team of the week, I've said it before, but just certain weeks where positions are stacked and certain positions are weak. This week, you had performances at halfback like Ben Hunt, Daly Cherry-Evans, Jerome Hughes, who were all, Mitch Moses, who were all unbelievable at halfback. Sean Johnson was the 7 above all of those.
I mean, and like, I remember watching that first trial match, kicked like 3 balls out in the full or 2 balls out in the full, 7 tackles. I was going far out. Like, it might not be like, I was genuinely, he's under pressure from the jump to keep his spot.
We were on the regional tour in Armidale and we were watching the game and we were mid-show and Lockie Fitzgibbon ran straight through him. It was a real pedestrian, like turnstile, missed tackle, and we straight away coming off the back of the preseason. And then I think from that moment, it's just gone, stuff this.
Unbelievable.
I'm still here.
Another bloke I want to... Wade Egan is just improved so much, and he's such an example. You know, he's still got plenty to improve in his game for sure, but he's such a good example of like just sticking with a player sometimes. Like, very easily could have been like, a coach could have been like, well, you know what, he's not up near the top of tier, or he's a bit below and he's been a bit inconsistent. I'm going to go out in the market and buy a 9 that at least can get the job done. But they've stuck by Wade Egan, and he's a big reason why they're going well as well. Like, he is really, really improving week on, week out. Tohu Harris, like, obviously. Adam Fanor-Blake, once again, it's just ad nauseum. If he was playing for a Sydney club or a Queensland club, we'd be ranting and raving every week about him. And it's just they're exciting to watch too. So it's not like, what I love about this Warriors as well is it's not like they've just gone full discipline, boring footy, high completion, and you're just like, oh, yuck. Like they're just copying old school Storm. Or like this is a unique, like they're gritty as anything, but far out they score some cool tries. Like it is just so exciting to watch. So exciting to watch. Who stood out for you, Matty?
Speaking of exciting tries, what about that Dallin? The Dallin one.
That put down was outrageous.
Yeah.
Like outrageous by Dallin Zalesniak.
The Warriors. Oh, mate, it's one of those things. Like Adam Fanua-Blake again. I wish he was eligible for New South Wales. He is close to the form front row of the comp at the moment. Like obviously Payne Haas probably is, but he's right up there. They're just such an exciting team, and it's so good to see. After, like, I think they've made the finals once in the last decade or something. It'd be so great to see them continue this form. Like, obviously, we say they've got to keep it up. Half the season has already gone, and they've won. They've lost the same amount of games as the Sharks and the Rabbitohs. Like, they're well in it. The
they
Warriors.
Genuinely could make top 4.
Yeah.
Like, matter of fact, at this point in the season, if they don't make the 8, it's disappointing. All of that hard work that they've done, for them to drop out of the 8 would be disappointing. Like, it is, I probably still think they're not going to make the top 4, but if they did, I'm not going to sit here shocked. Like, there is something special brewing there. Real special. They had 7 line breaks to Canberra's 2, and the scoreboard 36-14. No disrespect to the Raiders, but it kind of flatters the Raiders. Like, they were dominated handedly in that second half.
Well, I said try off deflection during all that pressure we put on them, and then Papali'i scored late, so it easily could have been.
I think a good thing about the Warriors as well is they've won a lot of games on the road this year. Like going down to Canberra, it's no easy task. They beat the Sharks at Shark Park. They beat the Cowboys in North Queensland. They got close to the Roosters in round 2. I think they even got kind of close to... Yeah, they got close to Melbourne on Anzac Day. So they've been going really well at home and at away, which obviously the Warriors have never been known as a team that travels and wins. So another huge positive.
Yeah, so Warriors fans, get excited. We said it, to be fair, we did say at the start after the preseason trials, this is a new look Warriors. There's something different about these Warriors. And Andrew Webster, take a bow. Wow, what he has done with this roster and the ability to go out and recruit not necessarily the obvious players, but he must have seen something that we didn't see. Like he's clearly got such a good eye for talent that he can see all these little things that we're not seeing. And then, boom. Here they are. On to the Raiders. I mean, really good first 20 minutes. It looked like, okay, the boys are on here. It's going to happen. But super disappointing performance. Super disappointing.
Yeah, it was. They had every opportunity earlier in that game to make a statement. So the intensity was there. The effort was there. I know we've actually been putting a few points on this year, but I do wonder when it comes to the crunch time how much attack we've got in us. And I think despite the Warriors' defence being terrific, we do lack a bit of X factor at stages. In terms of where they're sitting, the fact that they'd won something like 6 of their last 7, we could afford to have the loss in some sense. Like their draw upcoming, they've got 2 buys in the next 5 weeks, and in between that they've got the Roosters in Sydney, they've got the Titans at home, and then the Dragons in Wollongong. Like all winnable games, few buys, so we're still positioned well. Obviously, you lose Hutto Young to Origin, he's the only one. Big Red, Corey Horsburgh, 19th man. So I think we're positioned okay. It was a disappointing result, but not panic stations. Like it's okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. In regards from a season perspective, I think you more have to give Warriors respect than be panicking about the Raiders.
It's exactly how I felt. I was like, no, the Warriors were way too good tonight. Like.
Yeah. Because, look, glass half empty. I will say, though, I thought your forwards did a really good job at getting his field position, and you didn't execute. You didn't repay those forwards in the back line for doing that.
I've said for a while, I think we're just missing that strike out wide. When I say out wide, like 1 to 7. Jack on his day's got it. Seb Chris has been good this year, but he's like a solid. He's not going to break a game open type of fullback. We're really just missing that X factor, that punch out wide. Like Matty Timoko, again, he's been terrific, but you know what I mean? Like, who do you give the ball to in that back 7 right now when you've got the field position, say, get us over the line, get us points. It's Jack Wyden, who's been a bit down on form the last month or so, but...
Well, look at the difference Reece Walsh has made to the Broncos. And that's a... Selwyn Cobbo, Staggs, Herbie Farnworth, Corey Oates, they were all there last year. And Reece Walsh comes in, and all of a sudden this team goes, they're equal top of the comp. And so that's how important that key strike player is in the back line.
And because we don't have that, I don't believe we have that, we just have to grind out wins, and it becomes exhausting over the course of a season, like scraping together 2-point and 4-point wins. We don't get those blowout score lines where you can take the foot off the pedal a bit, give blokes early rest. Like every win we have and loss, because we also tend not to lose by many points. It's a long season when you're going to winning or losing by 2 or 4 points every game.
Yeah. Now on to Manly defeat Raiders. It says Raiders. Manly defeat the Dolphins 58-18. If this Manly turns up every week, they're a top 4 side. If this can turn up every week, they're a top 4 side. Tommy, Croker, Garrick, DCE, Cooler. The weapons were just everywhere on this Manly. When they are on, they are truly almost unstoppable. Through the middle there you just got DCE backing up, Tommy, and then Croker coming through with that incredible kick. Cooler's speed on the edge there. Garrick playing fantastic footy. This is exactly what Manly needed. The challenge is it needs to be week in, week out. The positive, I think, for Manly is this is now probably 3 games in a row where Tommy has looked like he's stretched out at full pace. And so we may be seeing the beginnings of Tommy's, another run like he did in 2021. DCE just, continues to he's such a good player. So massive, massive win for Manly. I really think this was an important win, and it gave him the confidence personally to know we can put a lot of points on a grindy side. Most of the time, Dolphins are a side that stay in contests, but that wasn't the case. What do you think of this game?
Yeah, the whole game that stood out to me was just the speed on show between mainly the blokes you mentioned in Kohler, Saab, Hammer. It was an exciting game, despite the lopsided result. Moments of individual brilliance littered across the whole game.
Yeah.
So it was an exciting one. Look, it's not too indifferent to what we sort of said at the start of the season around Tommy Turbo, was it? Well, when Tommy is fit and firing, Manly on their day can be close to the best side in the comp. It's about stringing back-to-back performances together. But Tommy, up until I think probably the game against the Raiders pre-Origin, Origin 1, we hadn't seen him anywhere near his best, but now that he's getting back to it, and as you said, he's stretching out, it just changes everything for Manly and their aspirations. They go from all right, maybe they can scrape into the 8. It's well, if Tommy's fit and doing this week in, week out, which we know he can do, we've seen him do it time and time again, they can really match it with the best in the comp.
Knowing that you've got a guy like DCE that's, has won a premiership, can steer the best of the best around.
It goes not from can they scrape into the 8, it's all right, if they're firing, how far can they go?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give Lachlan Croker a shout out. Far out. A couple of years ago he wasn't even a 9. I think he was a 6. And he has just continued to battle away at that position. And to put on a performance like that, he has genuinely moved into, he's an out-and-out 9 now. A couple of years ago I would have said, maybe they need to go into the market for a 9. I don't think they need to go into the market.
And it's all good and well having this, top-ended roster where you pay a few blokes a lot of money in Jake and Tom Trebojevic, Daly Cherry-Evans, Josh Schuster's on a fair lump as well, and in and around that $1 million mark each. But you have to have players to fill other key positions. And for Manly, that's Lockie Croker. And it's... You have someone like Harry Grant who'd be pushing $1 million, if not on it, at Melbourne. When you're on that money, you have to play to that money, and you have to be setting up tries each game and scoring them and making 50 tackles without missing them. Lockie Croker would be on, I don't know, every 300-400K max sort of thing.
Max, 300 probably.
Yeah, so in that instance, it's, mate, we've got you as our starting hooker, go out and deliver good service, run when the opportunity arises. So on top of it, when he's scoring tries and setting up tries, you're exceeding your value so much. And at the same time, you're allowing us to go heavy on our 1, our 6, 7, our 13.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
great.
it's a great, like any side, as you said, with a top heavy roster, you have to have blokes like Croker in it, and blokes like Garrick as well. He's another really good example. Like, he's not going to break the bank,
Perfect.
but he's going to give you high quality games.
Like Melbourne and the Kings and Bellamy over the last decade and a half sort of thing, about having these top ended rosters, but they have found blokes to fill the gaps and do jobs, and that's what he's doing for Manly.
Great win. Awesome win. And it might sound a little glass half empty here, but nothing could have gone better for Manly on the weekend. But I think they've been so underwhelming all year. This is not the first good win they've had. They had a great win against Para. They had a great win against Melbourne. But then they'll come back the next week or 2 weeks later and just have a stinker. So I'm very, very impressed by this win. But they've got a pretty moderate to hard run coming up. And we know Manly are capable of this. They've got a very similar team to when they made the prelim a few years ago. Like, we know they can do this. It's just about doing it, more than once a month. Because, as I said, I don't really have a lot of trust in them, unfortunately, this year, because they have such a good performance one week and then they're just very average next week. So
I will say I agree with everything you said. I think we all probably agree with what Matty just said. The only difference for me is this is the third game we've seen Tommy fully just not backing off any plays. He's hitting top speed. And I think that might be the difference that makes everyone else stand up and go, okay, Tommy's good, we're good, no more reasons not to. But their number one challenge right now is, you're right, it is to play consistent footy week in, week out. And they can't rely on these big matches and big blowout scores every once a month, because you're just not going to make the 8.
And on Tommy Turbo, so obviously unavailable for Manly this week on Origin duty against Parramatta. Round 17 and round 20, following Origin 2 and 3, Manly play the Saturday after those games. What's that? A 3-day turnaround from where he'll play 80 minutes in Origin.
Surely you don't play him.
I think you would be mad to play
Insanity
Tommy Turbo
to play
in those games. So the only game he could play he'd play round 18 against the Roosters. He might not play again till round 21, so he misses a handful of games there. Matty said there's some tough games coming up for them. They're probably going to have to do it without Tommy for a stretch of the next month. Yeah. Maybe they back him up, but it'd be crazy.
Yeah, so look, great win, but the challenge is it's week in, week out. And also the challenge is building a DNA as a side. Like, what style of footy do you turn up and play? Now, I think the style we saw on the weekend is that style. Now it's just about executing it each week. On to the Dolphins. Look, I just think it's been a long year. It's been a long year for the Dolphins. They have fought and scrapped for everything they've got. I will say the one bit that I absolutely loved is you saw Cooler not gas Hamiso, because Hamiso didn't really run after it for that kick. He scores that kick. A few plays later, Hamiso goes, "You might be quick, but I'm going to see how quick you are." Boom. Burns Cooler on the outside with a goosey. Like, Hamiso, as I said, he just takes that little step when he wants to. He'll just go, all right, I just need to be a bit better. And he is a bit better against whoever he plays. So that try he scored was just lightning. But in regards to the Dolphins as a whole, it's just been a real long year. I just think that they look fatigued, they look tired, they looked like they'd been battling for so long, and they ran up against a Manly side that had been underachieving for so long, and it was just a perfect storm.
Perfect storm. Couldn't have said any better. Of course, it was a disappointing result. Look at the scoreline, but at the same time, for how resilient they've been each and every week and fighting in every single game, they'll be behind late in games. We're going into second halves and they fight back. Something had to give eventually, and as you said, Kempy, they got a Manly side who were near perfect, who were absolutely rampant. They were coming off the bye. It was like, you know what? It's a 27-round season. This is going to happen. Sure, it got a little bit further out of hand than they would have hoped for, but they've also shown that they can bounce back from games and losses, and they'll hopefully be okay the following week. So, tough night, but it's all right.
I loved Wayne Bennett's comments after the game where they basically asked him mass changes or whatever, and he said, "I'm not that type of coach. I believe in these players at the start of the season," and this is paraphrasing, "I believe in them now." You know, you cannot measure or weigh the value that has to a playing group to hear that from their coach. Because, usually a coach comes out in a press conference and just like blows his team to bits. Disgraceful, terrible defense. And there is that method. And some coaches use that method and it works really well. But Wayne's always like almost the opposite. Sometimes you can have a big win with Wayne and he'll come in the change room blowing up and saying like, and he just knows to pick his moments. And I think that he picked his moment perfectly here. It is not the time, in my opinion, to be going into that Dolphin side going, that was disgraceful. These all need to pull his heads in. I think that it was a time to put a hand around the boys and go, we've been so good all year, boys. We let ourselves down. Let's come together and we'll work our way out of it.
I think if you're asking for mass changes for the Dolphins, I don't know like what thinking goes behind that. Like they've been up against it all year. First of all, they're a new club, so there's that one huge thing. But like Kafusi's been suspended twice. Jared Wallace is currently suspended. Tom Gilbert's out for the year. Jerry Marshall King got injured. Who knows like how long he's going to be out for?
Mills suspended, who'd been playing some good footy.
Mills, someone was on one leg on the weekend. Like, who are you going to replace? Like half the team's injured anyway. I think they've been up against it all. Like Nichols has been injured. He's back now, but they've been up against it all year. I think that's a
Jared Wallace was suspended.
Yeah.
Add in that. Fortunately, they had bench cover for it, but it doesn't help rotations. Brent Khalil lasted 14 minutes, and then Jeremy Marshall-King lasted 41 minutes. Both players who would have otherwise probably gone 80 or close enough to it. They left the game pretty early on, so it's just, Kevin, it was a perfect storm.
Yeah, really was. Now, on to Dragons v. the Rabbitohs. The score ended up 36-30, but I don't know whether to be disappointed in the Dragons in that last 3 minutes or Rabbitohs were just so good, because it's disappointing for the Dragons. They played so well and dominated the competition, or the contest, sorry. But that last 3 minutes just puts this massive sour note on it. Like, and yeah, I get the Rabbitohs were missing some key players, and if Cody Walker, Trell Mitt, and Cam Murray, Jaiara were playing, you know, you'd say the Rabbitohs probably get the job done, but it still was a good win at that stage. Even at 36 to like 16 or whatever, good solid win. So it went from a good solid win to a holy shit, what just happened. But I think for the Dragons at the moment, the club is in such a position where a win's a win. Who gives a shit how we get it? Like, if it's ugly at the end there, it's ugly at the end there. So I would be, if I'm a coach, I'm just going, let's take it, boys. Let's just take it.
For sure. A win's a win for the Dragons. You want to put a line through that last 5 minutes and be like, it was pretty comprehensive to that point, but you can't. Like, it happened. They conceded 3 tries late on, and they gave the Bunnies a sniff in what would have been the most unbelievable comeback of all time. But, mate, they got the dub. That's all you can ask for.
Like, think about the situation in this club. Sacked coaches, another coach brushes them and says, I'm not coming there. They've got Ben Hunt, who may or may not leave if he has to rebuild. Like, there's a lot of shit going on at that club. Yeah,
and you could sit there and come up with hypotheticals of, you know, if they let him one more try, or they were 1 try less behind and the Bunnies got back and won it, well, then the media would have been smashing them and how'd they lose on lose game. But they didn't. They held on. They got a big enough lead that they could allow this late capitulation. And, yeah, I mean, still happy for Ryan Carr and in particular Dragon supporters that after everything they've been through, they're stringing some gritty enough performances together and hanging in there.
I will say, and we actually got it wrong, and we should have had it in there, Michael Molo, he should have been in our team a week on the bench. Probably, maybe instead of Croker or Kamakamitha maybe, or even Tohu Harris. Anyway, positives are Michael Molo is getting better and better. He's just improving week in, week out, and really doing a job for them in the middle. 20 runs, 166 metres, 61 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 32 tackles and 0 misses. Like, that's a bloody good knock. Like, the Rabbitohs weren't missing front rowers. Well, they were missing Burgess, but Totola played, Keon obviously played, Hame played. So that's a fair knock. So that's good signs for the Dragons that they're finding a little bit of rays of light in this really tough period at the moment. Outside of that, Ben Hunt, once again, just outstanding. Like, that try that he scored down the sideline, it's like... And that's would be so frustrating as a Dragons fan. When you see a try like that happen, where Sullivan takes it to the line and there's dummies, and I think Fainai or Sully do a good offload, and then Hunt around the edges, you're going... that's the dream. Like, I can see it in front of my eyes how we hope we end up turning out, but it's just about getting that together each week.
Ben Hunt, I just feel like we sit here at times this season and even last season, we've struggled to say too many positives about the Dragons, but every week amidst that, Ben Hunt has been unbelievable. Like, he's sickeningly good at rugby league and what he does.
Yeah.
So, you've spoken about him. I've spoken about him in depth over the last, this season. One that definitely deserves a shout out is Tyrell Sloan, who, he's the ultimate at this stage of his career rocks and diamonds player. He's had a fair bit of adversity against him off the field in terms of his critics and, being out of first grade and reserve grade.
We've been critical. We felt he
Mate,
should, yeah.
I'm happy to say that I think he's been very underwhelming this year, and there are times where I sit there and go, he should probably be playing New South Wales Cup. And a lot of that was off the back of effort errors and work rate. Mate, he had 20 runs on the weekend for 186 metres. He injected himself at some really good times and just more intelligent times, just sniffing around that ruck, waiting for an offload, waiting for a short ball for a defender to overcompensate or push too far, and he cut through the middle of them in the game there. So he had some great moments, and they were the glimpses where you go, all right, when you put yourself in a position around the ball, you're so quick, you're so good with ball in hand, the opportunities will come, and they did on the weekend.
Yep.
So, mate, instead of having 6-7 runs a game, follow that ball around, do what Reece Walsh does, do what the best fullbacks do, and it'll come. So, mate, really good signs for Sloan.
And I think as well for Sloan, if you want to get rid of the noise around like the errors because sometimes he has a big error in him and, there's a lot of noise around that. I think a lot of Dragons fans can forgive that if he's having 20 runs. So on the weekend, there was a couple of errors, but if you're having 20 runs and you've got a couple of try assists, we will rely on our coaching staff to take care of the rest of everything else. If you come on the field and you're having 20 runs, you're showing us that you're committed to playing hard footy and playing for the jersey. The errors in that, it is the player for sure. Like, I'm not taking responsibility away from the player, but that's the coach's job to turn him into the player. Work rate, the 1%ers, that's all players' responsibility. A coach can't make you take 20 hit-ups, but they can teach you things about not making errors, carrying the ball a certain way, getting into contact a certain way, not throwing that pass. And so that's where with Tyrell, I'm like, just make it a goal, 20 runs a game. That's it. Great shout.
You're worth persisting with, and we can get errors out of your game over coming years. There's enough attacking upside in you that you can be a store for this team for a long time if you can show us the effort.
Yeah,
because they said, Kemp, you can't force a player to go out and play at 100%. But if they're doing that, it's like, cool.
Mate, you can only take horse water, you can't make a drink, mate. That's what my dad always used to say, mate. And he actually initially never said that. But so Sloan, drink the water, baby. You're at the lake's right there. The fucking water is there to be drunk.
The solution's there. Just drink it.
Just drink it, bros. And you drunk it on the weekend. Rabbitohs. Look, incredible last 3 minutes. You could sit there and nitpick this and you could say, look, they've kind of fallen off a cliff. There was a period there where they were arguably premiership favourites. Yeah, for sure. And I wouldn't argue that hard against you. But when you're missing Walker, Trell, Murray, Arrow, Burgess, I didn't expect them to win. I actually, even though my pick was Rabbitohs at the start of the week, as soon as I found out Cody Walker was out, I actually changed my pick to the Dragons, but I'm such a guy with integrity, I didn't change it on my tips there. But whatever, it is what it is. Look, you still scored 30 points. I don't see it as that big of a loss, to be honest.
Not at all. I think the one thing that stood out was Matty saying losing leading into Origin. Because they have so many gun players in Origin reps, it makes, when they do play the major buy round, being round 13 and they play round 19 when Origin's on and they're missing a lot of players, they become such hard games to win. So if you can jag the ones in and around them, you put yourself in a good position. So, mate, when they were losing that many players, I wouldn't be too disheartened by that game at all.
The only problem is like, this could be where they could have won the minor premiership. But, like, who really cares about the minor? You just want to be top 4.
Yeah.
I will say, I kind of agree. On Friday, I was like, all right, if Cody's out, Dragons have every chance of winning. But I thought it'd be like maybe a 20-16. I didn't expect the Dragons to score 6 tries against South. And I think no matter how many players are out, I think South would be pretty disappointed with that. Then again, I didn't. For the first 70 minutes of the game, I was wondering where the points were going to come from, and then they all just came in the last 3 minutes. So I was shocked. I wasn't shocked about the result, but I was shocked about how it all unfolded. I thought they were pretty bad defensively, regardless of how many players are out.
Yeah, that's a fair shout. I wouldn't disagree with that at all, because usually the players you're bringing in aren't that, like, is Cody Walker a renowned defender? Like, no, he's a good, solid defender. So the player you brought in for him, you would hope could be at least defensively as sound. Trell Mitt at the back there, you would hope that, yeah, sure, like in the one-on-one tackles, he's going to be better than Taff. But like communication-wise, Taff's been in grand finals. So that's a fair shout, Matty. I agree in regards to if you had have lost like 16-4, that's much more I guess acceptable than a 36-30. But still, I don't think the Dragons, even though on the ladder they're like essentially at the bottom or second or whatever at the bottom, I don't think they're as bad as the ladder suggests. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
I was going through their results before the show today, and like there's a lot of tight losses, and they're actually they're pointing to scoring enough points, so it's not all doom and gloom from there. Some good enough signs there.
Yep. Now, on to Broncos defeat. Store shout-outs. Plainland Tavern, best bloke supporter in the Lockyer Valley. Say good day to Grant and Craig when you grab a case. That's Plainland Tavern. Saltwater Creek, Big Legends Barn, opposite Movie World on the Goldie. All celebrations in Townsville. We are stocked in every celebrations in Townsville. Bole Barn has your bloke needs up north with lager and midi. Hawker Drive-Thru, Liquor Legends Canberra. Get your bloke lager from Johnny and Hef at Belconnen. N17 Burger Co. Pop into the best sports and burger bar in Port Douglas. Nick and Dan always pouring bloke lager on tap, and they've been our supporters since day dot. So support them. The Grain Celebrations Drive-Thru, easy pick up and go. Arana Lee's Club in bottle shops, in the bottle shop, and also in the fridges behind the bar. Eden Hills, Harry Brown's for everyone on the north side of Bris Vegas. The Woods Bar in fridges at the Woods Bar in Mitchelton, Blackwood Street. Common Ground Cellars, St. Lucia, located near the University of Queensland. We're also in every Liquor Legends in Queensland. Get into your local Liquor Legends, grab a case of Bloke in a Bar beer. Let's head into Broncos defeat the Knights 24-20. Talk about in air quotations mark, nothing game turning into like one of the biggest thrillers of the season. I cannot believe what that game ended up becoming. I think most people probably expected Broncos to win 13+. They didn't. The Knights were super gritty and super brave. But it was just the Broncos' talent that got them through in the end. Like, if you ever needed to look at something and go, well, what do you mean when you say a roster is better than the other one? Or like they've got these stars that can make these plays. I think the Broncos relied on that heavily. What I felt like we watched is the early season version of the Broncos, where at the end of the game, in the last 10 minutes, the game's on the line, and all of a sudden they just click into gear and just go crazy. And unfortunately for Knights fans, it took one of the best game-winning plays I've seen in a very long time from Ezra Mam. The guts to make that play was unbelievable. So although the Broncos' performance wasn't good, I personally think it is to be expected, because they're not on Panthers level yet in regards to consistency. They're still so young that they'll go on runs of like really good footy, and then they might get a bit complacent. And then another, you know what I mean? And then another run. And then eventually they'll get to a point where there's no complacency and they're a mature outfit. So although it wasn't their best performance, we still got the win against the Knights, who I thought was one of their better performances of the year.
The Knights were huge. Like, I thought Brisbane were going to do a job on the Knights here. They were going up to the Suncorp Stadium. The Broncos were at full strength. They were in red-hot form. I thought they were going to do a job on them. Yeah. And the Knights' resilience they showed in this game, and, Broncos threw plenty at them, but the Knights, showed plenty. And that Walsh v Ponga battle was so satisfying to watch.
And it actually delivered. Usually it doesn't deliver the battles.
Yeah, you've got these two superstars of the game at slightly different stages of their career, just electric footballers to watch. One's just taking the other one's spot for the Maroons. KP just slices through potential Blues candidate Adam Reynolds and then burns Walsh and just like, mate, like I've still got you. Walsh responds with some magic of his own at different stages. 4 minutes to go, where you want to see the toughness in Reece Walsh, and he gets that kick return and just Carmichael Hunt kamikaze lines it, pins it, and Ponga just whacks him.
Him and Adam Elliott.
What a moment. Him and Adam Elliott. Wasn't that an awesome moment of like just two guns going at each other, exciting talents. So, mate, it was such a good game to watch, wasn't it?
Oh, it was incredible. And, you know, Reece Walsh, his first hit up in Origin, he ran it straight at Payne Haas. And so, does he fit the mould of a typically tough guy? No, he's the mad sort, really pretty bloke, but he's tough. You cannot tell me that Reece Walsh isn't tough.
He is tough. Like, if he had a head like me, you'd be like, this bloke's tough. But because he's so good looking, you think pretty boy.
Yeah.
He's a pretty boy, but he's a tough pretty boy.
100%. Like, game's on the line. He wants to inspire his troops. He runs straight at Adam Elliott and Callum Ponga, gets oosed, gets back up, smiling, and just goes again. Like, it was just, like, this is Reece Walsh's stats on the weekend. And obviously, you know, KP stepped him, so it was just a battle. Honestly, it's one of the, usually when you have these battles heading into matches, they just fizzle out and either one player kills them, the other one's quiet. Both were gone, but these are Reece Walsh's stats. 2 try assists, 22 runs, 215 metres, 13 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks, 3 line break assists, 2 offloads. Like, far out. And then this is KP's stats. They had the exact same Supercoach points, I think. Well, they have the same other points, but I'm not allowed to say.
You're learning, mate. You're learning.
KP had a try, 229 metres, 10 tackle breaks, 2 line breaks. So, like, we're talking about 2 unbelievable superstars of our game, genuinely going toe-to-toe. And then the photo at the end of them together, you know, it's all like a healthy competition. Just such a good battle. We'll talk about the Knights first. Just watching them, like Greg Marju, Dominic Young coming out of their end. It's a nightmare for oppositions. Like, you know, watching them from a Broncos perspective, you're just like, could you please stop running the ball out of your own end? Like, you are skittling out offences constantly, and the start of your sets, we're always on the back foot. Like, they just are so hard to handle. Dane Gagai was absolutely outstanding as well. He had 2 try assists, 148 metres, 6 tackle breaks. Just shows you what a battler he is, you know. Like, I mean, what's crazy is we didn't even speak about him in Origin selections, which is insane because I actually thought he should have been in the mix. But they must have just gone, they're going youth pretty much. Yeah.
Could definitely have come into contention for a spot wing there again. That's his response to, like, to a degree, he's, playing for a Queensland Origin spot.
Yep.
Going up to Suncorp Stadium, where Game 2 is about to be, against Brisbane, who are one of the high flyers in the competition with a host of Queensland Origin players. He was awesome, Gagai.
He was so good. Like, defensively, obviously, he missed some tackles, but what I love about Gagai is, like, the attitude. Like, he could have easily started sooking. Like, we're talking about Dane Gagai Origin, very much in the picture for best outside back of the last 10 years in Origin. Like, that's how good, or like at least the last 5 years. We'll just say 5 years. Very easy for him to sook, but he takes it as a challenge. And that's what made him so great and makes him so great.
Would you, without, you know, well, we are digressing back to Origin, but on that, would you have considered Gagai going, like, you've got Hammer, Val and Gagai, who can all pretty easily switch between wing and centre. Would you have considered Gagai, or were you happy with Coates? Because we didn't actually talk about it.
Yeah, I definitely would have considered Gagai, but I just think defensively he's still missing a few tackles. Could you get the missed tackles up and just see where he's at compared to other outside backs? Because, like, on the weekend, for example, even though he's outstanding in attack, 25 tackles, 6 misses.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And so, you know, but on the wing though, like, I've never watched Gagai on the wing and thought he's not a good defender. And he's great bringing the ball out. So I just think Billy's gone for a youth. I think Billy, he's in such a strong position right now with selections because comes in, wins his first series. He's the golden child of Queensland right now. So he has the flexibility to go, no, I'm going to go young, so that it's a risk, yeah, for sure. Like, it's a massive risk. But if it pays off, these guys could play Origin for 10 years and we could have another dominant period. And so I think that's what a lot of, like even Kaufusi, I think he's just going younger in plans for the future because he has that leeway to do that.
That's actually quite surprising. He has made 211 tackles and missed 41, so that's 83.7%. I did the Val. Val's 77%, so he's actually worse, and he's pretty much the exact same as Campbell Graham at 84%.
Yeah, wow.
Interesting numbers. I feel like Gagai, he's been skinned for a few bad misses. When we always say that the amount of missed tackles you have don't always
equate to
the eye test. Were they bad missed tackles or was it like flying off? He's missed a few poor one-on-ones this season.
Yeah, and I think with the Kaufusi and Gagai selections, I think it's pretty clear he's going a youth. Young fellas, get him in, let's build something here. And this is the perfect time as a coach for Billy Slater to do that because he is so loved right now. So it's like, mate, take the risk. When you've got the opportunity to take the risk, whereas Freddie at the moment, he took that risk a few years ago and, was beloved, went back-to-back. Whereas now, Freddie's in a different position. He can't really afford to take those kind of risks straight off the bat, So
I hate that Slater's such a good dude. He's so lovable. I've loved Slater so. Another bloke who, I think, blue supporters, because he just destroyed us for so many years and through that dynasty, a lot of people don't like him. I literally mean New South Wales sport. I'm not talking rugby league wide, but he's such a legend, Billy Slater.
Oh, mate. He's so good to listen to talk about footy as well.
Yeah.
So poised in everything he does. Jacob Saifidi had quite a big game. Just a few missed tackles in the middle there, though. That was probably Knights, I guess, downfall, was that their missed tackles. But, again, you're going up to Brisbane against a red-hot Brisbane side that's been in the contest with the tippity top this year. I think the Knights, they've been a little bit up and down this month, but they have shown way more grit than I thought they would this year.
Yep. Common theme between a few big performances I saw this week, and there was the Titans, the Seagulls, the Knights, and I suppose to a less degree the Dragons. Do it 2 weeks in a row. I want to see you back it up. What do you got next week?
I like KP back at fullback.
Oh, so good.
Jesus, good. And also, it was the first game I've watched this year where I wasn't sitting there going, I hope, is KP going to be okay? I just watched KP be KP. There was no worry. Keep him at fullback, please. Just please keep him there, guys. He is so unbelievably good there. But outside of that, incredible performance from the Knights. Leo Thompson, far out, he's improved. He's a fringy at the start of this year. Now he was a fringe edge player. Now he's a starting front row for him.
Big minutes, playing in the middle.
Yep. So he's going to improve. He's only going to get better. I thought Matt Croker came on and had a bit of impact. He scored a try pretty much straight away. But I speak about it quite often, but I feel like Croker's got something in him. I feel like there's more. When he comes on, he has these moments where I'm like, oh, there's a bit about the kid. Anyone else stand out for you guys?
All good there, mate.
I'm trying to look now. Yeah, but the main thing that stands out for me is Dominic Young and Greg Marju coming out of the trouble. It is painful watching them as opposition. You're just like, please stop. Can you please stop fucking dominating? Greg Marju, 227 metres, 6 tackle breaks. Just week in, week out.
And also, when you do have that concussion risk around, that's going to be ongoing, probably for the rest of his career, Kalen Ponga. And you don't necessarily want him taking all these dirty Ks out of hands. You got them two are going to go for 200 metres each every game. It's like, gee, that's good to know. It's like, KP, you don't need to run for 150 metres all out of the backfield. Leave it to the big boys.
And that's a beautiful thing from this night's performance is their backs numbers, guess who they look really similar to? Penrith's backs numbers. 229 metres from Ponga, 201 metres from Young, 148 from Gagai, 115 from Best, 227 from Greg Marju. So that you can build on that. That's a game
We've
plan.
said time and time again, Kempy, with that Penrith blueprint, why aren't more teams following it? And the easy answer is that, you can't just click your fingers and have 200-metre plus averaging wingers who can also make defensive reads and all that sort of stuff and be genuine first graders. But the Knights at the moment have managed to do that. Good luck to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Broncos. As I said, not our best performance, and you could say, was it Knights playing so well? And yes, I think it's a mixture of that, but I think when you watch the last 10 minutes, when the Broncos began to be like, oh shit, we could lose this game, they just took it up another gear. They really just took it up. And that showed you that the Broncos, I think they came out a bit complacent, if I'm being honest. I think they came out thinking that they were just going to get the job done because the Knights aren't, are lower on the table than them. And it took, a Herculean effort from guys like Haas, Carrigan, even Kobe Hetherington. That last play where he looks up and nothing's doing, sees a bit of a gap, gets tackled, offloads to Reynolds. No, it was to Reynolds, then to Mam, and then Mam back to Reynolds. That was incredible. Piakora also had some good moments again. There's a great line, like Reece Walsh running across. They rush out of the line. Reece Walsh, was it Reece or was it Reynolds? I think it was Reece. Reece Walsh just holds the ball up. Piakora keeps running his line. He doesn't stop, and he just goes, boop, pops it in behind him.
And they're the two names that I had jotted down for me, mate. Piakura and Hetherington. What's most impressive about Brisbane this year is their depth. And sure, they were close to full strength here, but they're two blokes who played 29 and 16 minutes. They're the ones who essentially can't be the match winners for you.
Yeah.
Sure, Reece Walsh was the one pulling the strings a lot of the time for a lot of these attacking plays, but they came up with two enormous plays in limited time. And we saw, going back to the win over the Warriors in New Zealand in round 13, when you had all your origin stars out and you got a win there, it's not always necessarily Reece Walsh and Katoni Stars, Adam Reynolds, Payne Haas delivering these big plays. It's some of your fringes and your depth players coming up with big plays to win your games.
Yeah.
And no better example than the weekend. Like Piakura, who we know the raps on him, he's coming on and forcing an origin player in Capel to the middle at stages.
Yeah.
So you talk about a well-rounded squad.
I thought Jordan Ricky, stats-wise was solid, but if you actually watch the game, some of his kick chases were fantastic. Like landing exactly as soon as Greg Marju or the fullback caught the ball, and he was hitting them exactly as they caught it. I think Jordan Ricky is just maturing in front of our eyes, game after game this year. I just think he's getting more mature. I've loved his development this year. I really think he's answered a lot of the critics. Now, I still think he's got a lot more in him. I still think he does. But I think he's, the pre-season kind of loud noises around Ricky, which you could say maybe they were warranted to a degree. They've quietened quite a lot, I think. I think at the moment, it's obvious. Like Piakora, he's coming on. He's not moving Ricky into the middle. He's moving Capewell in the middle. So that shows you that how happy Walters is with Ricky at the moment. Let's talk about Payne Haas.
Just for something different.
Just something different, because we don't talk about him enough. 21 runs, 222 metres, 63 post contacts, 7 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, 41 tackles, 0 misses.
Quiet night.
We've never seen a front rower like this. Now, he's got a whole career ahead of him before he enters the chats of greats. So I'm not saying he's in the conversation for great. But tell me another front rower that we've seen this kind of form from, as in individually.
And you see front rowers, some of the best front rowers I've ever seen, go through stretches of 4 to 6, or it might be 10 games of doing things like this where they're just monumental every week. But it always dies out. It only lasts for a certain amount of time because you cannot put your body through that, then do it over longevity of a season. Payne Haas has done it for what now? 3, 4 seasons?
Mate, unbelievable. He's had maybe 3 quiet games.
Yeah.
Maybe in the front row. And he's done it not just in a team that's at the top of the table. He was doing this when we was terrible with the wooden spoon. He was doing this. Unbelievable stuff.
So good.
That's why obviously I want him to stay because of how good he is. But another reason why I want him to stay is because when they do, or if they do win a premiership, he can say, I got us out of the bottom, the depth, the wooden spoon. I stayed loyal and got us all the way to the top. That's a very different conversation than I walked into a side that was already a top 4 side.
Enormously.
It's massive, huge. Him and Carrigan, essentially, from a forwards perspective, are responsible for that. Flegler to a degree too, but unfortunately, I think he's going to Dolphins for a year and then he's going to come back home. That's what he told me. Herbie Farnworth, once again, I feel like an idiot saying that he wasn't. In my opinion, I think he's a superstar now. And I think that he probably would be playing Origin if he was a Queenslander. I think he's been phenomenal this year, and I think he has still got more gears in him, and at the Dolphins, he is going to absolutely shine.
Absolute gun, Herbie Farnworth. I'm one of his biggest fans. Mate, I thought he had a bit of a stinker on the weekend.
Defensively?
He defensively.
Yeah. Attack-wise.
Attack-wise, unreal.
so
He
good.
had very uncharacteristic of him, but he had 3 shocking reads for tries. There was 2 of Dom Young's tries and maybe the Matty Croker try, just shooting up and missing his mark, mistiming it. It's not anything to be concerned about because we know he is a very good defender, but, mate, he had some shockers on the weekend.
Herbie's earned 2 bad reads from me. You know what I mean? Like
For sure
Like
he
for
has.
me, when I see that, like if anything, I look at Staggs and I go, Staggs defensively is consistently kind of missing some tackles sometimes, whereas Herbie, like when that happens, I just rub it off as like he's so consistent. Every player has these moments.
The decisions that centres have to make in the NRL, the amount of pressure on when to jam, when to be passive and you know, go across field, like slide out, you're not going to nail every single one.
No.
So, as you said, he's got enough runs on the board. That's not something you'd panic about, but yeah, had a couple of stinkers on the weekend.
It's interesting as well because like he made 20 tackles and it said he only missed 1. It just shows you that.
Perfect example.
Like sometimes missed tackles aren't all equal.
I think that there was one where like he jammed on whoever was the back row or someone and Hayes just went whack with his flat ball out straight to the centre. It would have been Gagai. He got him a few times. Oh yeah, great example of missed tackles not being everything.
But again, that's what I mean in regards to there's still gears in this kid's game.
Yeah.
Like he still has more to offer. What do you think of the Broncos? mate?
Yeah, like I expected him to absolutely pump him. I was so stoked to see the Knights, and by the end of it, I was going for the Knights. You know, always going for the underdog. But then you see the
You're a
try
dog.
at the
That's
end.
why. Because you're a fucking dog.
Nah, I'm a blue.
You just said you love underdogs because you're a dog.
But as much as I hate to admit it, Broncos are probably my favourite team just to watch this year. Like, besides, like, for a team that I don't go for, it's easy to forget that besides Reynolds, like, their spine, like, Walsh and Mam have played. Walsh played like 50 games. I think Walters have played like 50 games. Mam's played about 30 games. It's crazy to see how much they're dominating in the spine, like being so inexperienced. You kind of forget how young they are, especially Walsh and Mam. I've loved watching this year, but what I loved the most is they had a gritty, tough game this week, and they were able to pull it out at the end.
Yeah.
Like, they've been blowing teams away all year. I've been so impressed by the Broncos this year, but I just think the last 20 minutes was really impressive.
Mate, Ezra Mam and Walsh playing footy together for a long period of time. Fuck. Like, Ezra's another guy, like, he's still got a million gears left in him. Like, he is so explosive and just... I'm trying to think of another 6 that is similar to Mam. And, you know, Brown's a bigger body, Munster is a bigger body. You know, I'm trying to think of another 6 that's a bit small. Like, Dearden's more of a battler.
Getting close towards Cody, sort of.
Yeah, but
vibe.
Cody's probably not as explosive as Mam. Obviously, Cody's ball playing is unbelievable. So that's where I go, like, if you could get that ball playing working with Mam, fuck, he's going to be dangerous.
I can't believe that Reece Walsh is 6 months older than Ezra Mam.
I know, it's wild. Like, Reece Walsh...
I forget Mam's that young, to be honest, the way he
If
plays.
Reece Walsh continues this trajectory, like, we are looking at just an absolute superstar. Superstar. Could you be more marketable? Like, he couldn't be more marketable if he tried.
His next pay rise is going to be very
It's going to be very
sizable.
interesting
Yeah.
how they keep him, because they got him on unders because he wanted to come home.
Yeah.
Carrigan, Haas,
Yeah.
Walsh,
And so I think that's probably why we lost Herbie and Flegler, because they're trying to prepare.
Mam. I mean, it's... And to be fair, you haven't quite got to the point of success yet. There's a lot to do, but the classic victim of your own success, isn't
Yeah,
it?
for sure.
When all of a sudden Walsh becomes his next contract of 8, 9, $1 million, whatever it is, Ezra Mam's going to go up enormously.
Let's ask a question. How much do you pay for Walsh? Open market.
So he's off contract.
Probably...
I think it's 2024 he's off.
I would go towards the 900 mark, but because the salary cap's being adjusted and like, you know, the $1 million price tag.
We'll go by this salary cap, not the new
this
one.
salary
What
cap.
everyone knows is $1 million.
Yeah. So
Sorry, he's off contract at the end of 2025.
Okay.
He's got what a deal.
So when you DCEs and
Oh, thank you. We got it branded till then. Oh, yes.
yeah, but
Fuck.
But we know he's going to sit there and he's going, I'm
No,
worth more
he's
money
not.
than
He's not
this. And
like
he'll
that,
say-
mate.
he'll
No,
say,
he's
I want the
not.
upgrade now, or I'm initiating clause 6.8 in my contract. And
Reece
going,
boy wouldn't do that. He
will.
loves the club. You saw he's pumping his chest, anything for the club. He'll cry, he bleeds.
2025.
You know what? It's good timing for the Bronx because Reynolds is off contract at the end of 2024. I reckon he'll want one more year after that. So Reynolds will
Well,
be...
they're currently looking at negotiations for an extension.
Well, there you
right?
go. So let's assume Reynolds has one more year after the end of his contract, and then that's when Reece Walsh comes off contract. So a lot of that cash can come.
Gets extension. Yeah, look, on current sort of salary cap and what we're valued at the moment, 12.8 or something, whatever. I mean, he's a bloke that is done in a pretty small sample size, but you do pay him potential, and he's close to $1 million. Like,
He's close. I'd go. I think if you get him for $850, that's a really good deal.
Yeah, I'd be paying.
He
him
wouldn't be
$1 million.
taking anything less.
Yeah.
And he's one where you go, look, you wouldn't feel comfortable giving him $1 million now, but you're like, sometimes you just pay on potential, and it's there. We know it's not on potential. We've seen what he's doing week in week out.
If Reece Walsh was off contract today and the Broncos had to re-sign him, I'd throw him $1 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would too. He's free.
You probably just have to. Not on. I don't think he's earned that tag yet in regards to longevity.
Definitely not.
But on the idea of him in another jersey just tearing you on your asshole, you just got to give it to him. But I think value-wise, career, everything going right now, I'd say $850.
Yeah, it's like he hasn't earned the $1 million tag yet, but you know in 12 months' time we're probably going to be laughing at that.
Yeah.
Going, of course he's worth $1
Yeah.
million.
And also, market pressure would make him $1 million.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
Like market pressure would make him like maybe even 1.1 right now. That's how desperate people are. As I said,
Like a team like Canberra.
well, that's what I was about to say.
Perfect example.
Imagine the difference in a side like Canberra if they had Reece Walsh at fullback.
Yeah,
he
looks like a bloke who'd like to settle in -6
that
temperatures, wear a
tan,
big coat.
a bloke with a tan like that, no way is he going down to the Canberra.
I'm not even going to pretend to dream.
Okay, let's get on to the next game before I get accused of spending too much time with the Broncos. On to the Penrith Panthers. Defeat the Roosters 30-6. Penrith Panthers. This is one of the best organisations we've ever seen in our whole lives. Now, the Melbourne Storm for longevity and what they've done, the Roosters for sure, but how dominant they've been over the last 3.5 years is seriously unbelievable. Unbelievable. Now, as I said, Roosters and Storm for the last 20 years have always been there or thereabouts, so you have to longevity of it. But have they had a 4-year period where they've had this much wins even without key players? Maybe, and maybe you could point to like the back-to-back minor premierships. I think the Roosters won 13, 14, 15 maybe or whatever. Maybe you could point to that. I'm not sure about the numbers, but they are unbelievable. Unbelievable organisation. Incredible,
Aren't they? And what's sort of standing out to me more and more is we know that in recent years they've had a lot big origin contingent and we know they develop players. They're you'd say probably the best in the game at developing juniors and coming through and doing a job for them, stepping into shoes and still winning games when they've got key players out. But now you're starting to get Craig Bellamy vibes of him recruiting players who are unwanted by other clubs, and this might not be exact examples, but players that come to mind like Jamin Salmon, Scott Sorensen, Jack Cogger, who he got them as sort of misfits from other clubs who weren't interested in re-signing them. I'm sure he wouldn't have paid them a lot of money. The Panthers wouldn't have. And they come in and like Scott Sorensen's become one of the best edge/middles in the game, whether he's playing middle or an edge. Jamin Salmon does the job every time he's out there. Jack Cogger comes in and they beat the Roosters 30-6, filling Nathan Cleary's boots.
30-6 at Roosters' home ground. And Roosters desperate for a win.
So Cleary's just doing the bellyache of, I'll find someone that you don't want. I see a good footballer in them. Come over here and you can slot in for us when we need you, and I know you'll do a job.
Ivan Cleary still doesn't get enough rap. They are currently going for their third minor premiership in a row. They won 20, 21, pretty sure. No, sorry.
21. Premiership, yeah.
So sorry, their third minor premiership in 4 years. 20, 21. They lost it at the death, didn't they?
Well, Storm had that record year.
That record year, but didn't they fall off towards the end of the year? Could you just check 21 premiership? Obviously, one last year.
Oh, so they were on. Yeah, they had 21 wins each, but Storm just had the better for and against.
Yeah, okay. So like, fuck me.
And
like,
Storm had a record year, like that record streak.
Yeah. So you're looking at like, obviously 3 out of 4 minor premierships, and in the one, like as in if they get this year, and then the 1 year that they didn't win it, they were equal on points with first. Like this period of dominance, Ivan Cleary still doesn't get enough raps for, and I think that there was a period when Ivan Cleary came back and it didn't seem to work out as well as he wanted at the Panthers. But before that, he took the Warriors to a grand final. Like that was unheard. Like I know early 2000s, I think they were, but then they had 10 years where they didn't really. I don't think they made They definitely didn't make a grand final. So he goes back to Panthers, goes to the Tigers. I mean, a lot of people like to blame Ivan for the signings that he made in his period, like his time there. But first of all, it's their best finish in a long time. I think they finished 9th when he was there. In like I know other years they finished 9th, but I just wonder, Ivan Cleary, if he had got Nathan across to the Tigers, where, you know what I mean? Like where would they have been? Anyway, I know people don't
Brooks won halfback of the year when Ivan was there as well.
That's what I'm saying. So I'm like, a lot of people like to put shit on Ivan Cleary for the signings of those older players on longer term deals, but I wonder if he had stayed and coached them, that he would have got the best out of them, because he's doing it at the Panthers right now. It's such an interesting take.
One of the great questions, yeah.
And so comes back to Panthers, and since he's been back, aside from that first half of the year, or like even that first year where they were saying, we can't believe we re-signed him, even Nathan Cleary was getting said that he's gone. Then towards the end of that year, they went on a run, and then ever since then, they have just been so dominant, so dominant. And like on the weekend, it is insane to say this, insane. They did not look like a side that was missing Nathan Cleary. Like I didn't watch that game and go, whoa, like this Panthers is missing a key player. That's insane. That's insane.
Even like he came on last week, Cogger, against the Dragons, and I know they only just got across the line, but he looked fine. Within about 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was, he'd put that like pinpoint precision kick over to Brian Toto in the corner. Oh, God, they're good.
They're so good. And, like, just the level at which each, like, their outside backs, like, they are just unstoppable. Like, we don't even talk about a guy like Taruva often, as in, like, we do. But, like, as a rugby league community, like, Taruva isn't spoken about in terms of what he's delivered this year. Like, Taruva has been outstanding this year. Tungor is in his, second year of first grade full-time? So you've got Tungor, Taruva that are in their first or second year. You've got Taylor May, who is injured at the moment. He's in his first or second year. And they are up there with the best in their position already.
Yeah.
Like, it's craziness. Brian Toto, bad game. 193 metres.
Under 200.
Yeah, under 200, bad game.
What?
5 tackle breaks. A line break. Yeah, who cares about that? Couple of tackles. Yeah, poor game from Toto. He's under pressure. Only 193 metres. He's under pressure. Critter, 151. I thought Critter was outstanding outside of a few misses here or there. Tungor. But yeah, Taruva for me is just like flying under the radar. He is so consistent. And what's funny is they always bomb, or sometimes they'll bomb to his side because they don't want Brian Toto bringing back the ball because it's Brian Toto. And Taruva is like not obviously at Toto's level, but he just does, like, he never misses a beat. Never misses a beat. It's going to be interesting what they do when Taylor May comes back next year, because we know how good Taylor is.
As it stands...
Oh, well, Critter, so Critter. And then, sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
What I loved about this game too, though, is Moses Leota and Fisher Harris taking it upon themselves of, like, it was almost like they came into the game offended at the Roosters forward pack. Like, they targeted Hargreaves and Collins all game. Like, it's like they wanted to start the battle. And we saw everything blow up at the end, and Hargreaves doing his cheeky trips, putting water bottles on people. But the Panthers targeted that forward pack and dominated that forward pack.
That's it. And, like, where Hargreaves playing his games and squirting the water, that's like... He knew exactly what he was doing. They were well beaten. He was stirring the pot at the end of the game. Got the reaction out of Lenu, but... Ivan Cleary just be sitting there going, like, that's what it's come down to at the end of the game, because your side has been so badly beaten that you need to squirt water bottles to get a reaction. Mate, worry hard as whatever, having a bit of fun in games, like nothing on that, but that's what it was.
Yeah, that's how dominant the Panthers forward pack was. They were unstoppable, and they, as I said, I just loved the fact that it looked like that they came into the game offended that this Roosters pack has, even existed. It was it was almost bizarre to a degree. They were just outstanding. I will say Matt Lodge has been pretty quiet this year.
Yeah.
Like really, really underwhelming for his standard of rugby league. I wonder what's going on there, whether he's going to get... He hasn't signed an extension yet, has he?
I don't think so. I wonder if that really bad face injury has affected him.
Yeah. Which would be understandable.
There's reports the other day. It wasn't reports. I think it was quotes saying that he's likely going to be forced out looking for another club.
Yeah, okay.
It's just because... I don't have the exact details, but the Warriors were paying part of his contract at the Roosters. Was that right?
I think so.
Something like that. So that runs
Or
out.
they gave him a massive payout.
Yeah, something like that. And then basically just not space in the Roosters cap to hold on to him, whether they want to or not. I think he said, it sounds like he'll be forced out due to salary cap constraints. So likely to be elsewhere. But, mate, the entire Roosters pack, who in that pack can you say has had a really good year or have been impressive? They've all had their moments, but...
It's like... Which must be so frustrating as a New South Wales fan because Lindsay Collins then goes to Origin and bloody does what he
kills
did.
it.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell? What the hell? All right, we'll keep talking about the Panthers real quick, though. I love that blow up at the end. Look, I understand if you're a Panthers fan, you don't like it because you're like, it's stirring the pot and the elbow. It's hard to say that Hargreaves' elbow was a penalty and then go say Tino's wasn't. But you can understand with Hargreaves' history why Penrith would feel that it was intentional, even though I don't think it was intentional. Leota was quite low, but I understand where Penrith are coming from. Like you can understand that they were getting fired up. I love that at the end there. I thought it was great. Saw two boys fucking going back and forth. Spencer Lenu not taking a backward step, not he looking absolutely ready to go. But then you got Hargreaves, the old dog that's been there and done it, loves it, just loves the niggle.
Threw the bait, got the exact reaction that he wanted. He's like, Lenu was so terrifying. Could you imagine 15 years ago, before they ever had the crackdown on the no punch? Them two boys going at it.
Far out. Like earthquakes.
Yeah.
Earthquakes.
It looked bloody close to happening anyway.
Are you surprised Spencer Lenu didn't get a job bench role for New South Wales?
I wouldn't say I'm surprised, but I wouldn't have been surprised. Equally, I wouldn't have been surprised if he did get a spot. I just think Stefano's been there.
Yeah. The only thing I would say is with Spencer Lenu is his leg speed. It really could turn a match. So I understand why you go the big bopper Stefano. You need a big body on their bench, but that leg speed in Origin sometimes. Like, I mean, look what Queensland do. Like that leg speed through the middle. Fucking, it's really hard to stop. But I mean, I would have gone with Stefano, but I was surprised maybe that he wasn't as talked about.
And I think also because they did go with that 4-forward bench, you could have made an argument that. Like if they'd gone with a utility like Birdo, say, on the bench, or Nico Hines, we need forwards who can potentially play big minutes if they're required to. And we know Lenu has never been a big minute forward for Penrith, but because they're at the 4-forward bench, he could have been that 20 to 25-minute impact player. So, yeah, I would have been Stefano, but like Matty, I wouldn't have been against it one bit if Lenu got a call up.
It's interesting that he's going to be at the Roosters next year.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That first meeting with Gerard. How you going, mate? I mean, let's talk about Scotty Too Hotty. Jeez Louise. 229 metres, 76 post contact, 3 tackle breaks, a line break, 2 line break assists, 5 offloads, 21 tackles. I mean, as I said, this is a guy that was struggling to get a start. I think he was at the Sharkies when he got signed.
Yep.
And was he somewhere before the Sharkies? Maybe Cowboys? Anyway.
He was at the Raids.
He was at the Raiders. Like, the player he has turned into, it's like we're looking at a Panthers side that lost Appy. We haven't even mentioned Kickout. How long has it been since we mentioned Kickout?
Yeah.
That shows you how much they've progressed past that point. I mean, even...
Look at the evolution of the edge back roles this year at Penrith. They started round 1 and Luke Garner was a starter with Liam Martin. Scott Sorensen was in that middle role that he's played with so successfully for Penrith off the bench for some time now. Liam Martin has now found himself... Zach Hosking was in reserve grade. Now, Hosking was sort of half rested on the weekend because I think they want him, particularly the next few weeks, to get through decent minutes, I would imagine. There might probably some sort of niggle there, but because the Origin boys will be backing up or rested, whatever they do. But Hosking wasn't even playing NRL. Hosking then came in and won that edge spot from Luke Garner.
Yep.
Scott Sorensen has now essentially, I don't know what they're going to do with him long term, but for now, won a big minute edge role for him, playing 60 to 80 minutes. Liam Martin at times has been forced into a middle role because all their edges are going so good. So now they're going between, for edges, Scott Sorensen, Liam Martin, Zach Hosking. Luke Garner's obviously fallen down the pecking order a bit, but he's another option there who could potentially even come in this week or next week anyway. They're just ridiculous.
I just want to know their program. Like I say it every week. I just want to know what's their program out there. Like, what are they doing differently to everyone else to be this good? Because when this all started, they weren't a team full of superstars. Like Isaiah Yeo was not a superstar. No. Liam Martin was not a superstar. Like, this has been created similar-ish to what happened with the Storm. Like, they created those players and then they had that dominance. The same thing's happened here at Penrith. Like, this wasn't like, oh, you had a stacked roster and then you brought in some more good players. Like, these have all been, like, a guy like Lindsay Smith. He's been outstanding for them this year coming in, since he's come
57 minutes on the weekend.
57 minutes, 152 metres, 58 post contact, 35 tackles, 0 misses. One miss. Like, Lindsay Smith, like, who's hurt? Like, not in a disrespectful way in regards to, put it this way, there's other teams in the comp that have benches where we all know their bench, like, oh, he's a gun off the bench, this guy. Like, Lindsay Smith is on the bench of the best side in the competition, and he's keeping that spot week in, week out. Matter of fact, he's impacting the game week in, week out. So much so, he's running for more metres than Leota and Fisher Harris.
Fisher Harris played 37 minutes. Lindsay Smith played 57.
And no one's talking about that's how good their development is. You know, like I've loved Lindsay Smith's work over the last few weeks, especially the last month or so, 2 or 3 weeks of footy. We've already spoken about it, but once again, you know, Jerome Luai, all this pressure. Even us, even me, I said if you're going to go with Reynolds, then you go with Walker. He answers the critics once again with his actions.
Every single time.
Let's get on to the Roosters. Oh man, what a bizarre year for the Roosters. What a disappointing, bizarre year. I will say, massive knock from Jake Turpin. Massive knock. He made 68 tackles.
Holy Jesus.
Yeah, just get it up. Pretty sure anyway, if I recall correctly, if my memory serves me.
68, yeah.
68.
2 misses.
What a knock. What a knock. So that's a positive. In regards to the Roosters, I personally, now seeing them play the roster they have and them being, you know, quite disappointing. They missed Craig Fitzgibbon. They just got rid of Jason Riles. I think that they're really hurting in regards to their staffing. Like, to lose two of your main assistant coaches. Now, someone would say, well, what about Penrith? They did as well. And yeah, that's fair, but I think that the Roosters aren't in as strong a position, or haven't been in as strong a position as the Panthers have been over the last 5 years. Ever since they're back-to-back, they've strung some good games together, but they haven't really been the team in the competition, whereas the Panthers have. I think that there's going to be... I don't know how much changes will be on the field, but I think there will be a lot of changes at the club this year.
There has to be mass change if it continues down this path.
The crazy thing is, bro, if you go look at the ladder, they are points on 16 points, so they're 1 win outside the 8.
Yeah.
So it's like, even how disappointing their season has been, they're still a chance.
They won a lot of games in that first sort of 6-7 weeks where they weren't very impressive and they just got over the line, but they got the 2 points. And it's showing now that as poor as they've been, they've done enough to keep themselves
They're 1 win
in
from
contention.
4th.
Yeah.
So the Rabbitohs are on 18 points.
Yeah, so they can go whack, whack, whack. You know,
they're back.
They've got, and they could be back. So, like, it could take 50-0 losses 3 weeks in a row, and I'd struggle to put a fair dinkum red line through the Roosters just because of the talent on the roster and the runs on the board for Trent Robinson. But it's just the same issues rearing their head every single week. They look on another page in attack. I said the 4-pack haven't stood up. It sounds like this week the teams will be out by the time this podcast goes live, I'd say just about. But Sand and Smith might be coming into the halves.
Yeah.
So no Teddy. So Joey Martin might go to fullback, back to centre. I don't know. But it's one headache after another for them.
And even if they do make the 8 this year, I just don't think it's sustainable to be a side, to be a team. It's like, oh, we start slow. When you're as good as the roster list is, you've got to be essentially in the top 4 most of the year. Basically what the Panthers are doing.
And even though you're right, they are, sitting in 12th, but they are 1 win off. They do have pretty comfortably the worst attack in the comp on points. Like the Tigers are second worst, and they've scored 23 more points. I know it's skewed because of the buys, and the Roosters have had 2 buys, so fair enough there. I don't know about the averages, but
still, compared to the roster they have, that's like so alarming. It's crazy.
You spoke about the coaching. At what point do you look at that roster and have the worst attack in the comp essentially? Yeah, like you have to point fingers at coaches because how the hell do you not get more attack out of that squad?
Well, I don't think that Robinson's job should be under pressure, but I do think that questions need to be asked of Robbo. Like, questions need to be asked of why is this happening? And to be fair, in Robbo's defence, he has said, I take full responsibility and I need to get us out of it. So it's not like he's sitting there going, I don't know.
Not making excuses.
He's not making excuses. I don't know. They're just, the boys just aren't following the game plan. He's saying, no, it's on me. So I think that if this continues, yeah, for sure, you got to ask a question about the coach. You've got to ask questions of everyone, really. Anyone that's in a senior position there, you've got to ask, like, why is this happening the way it is? We have a roster that can literally win the comp, and we're the worst attacking side essentially in the competition. So just a disappointing year for Roosters. I think I tipped them as to win it.
I did too.
Like that, I just thought they were going to just blow teams off the park. That 7-game run they had last year, and their heads exploded against the Rabbitohs. They might have found themselves in the grand final. It's funny how rugby league just half a season can take you from, like, let's say they made that grand final and they lost to Panthers or whatever. Like, we're just having a totally different conversation here. Whereas we're sitting here saying now, since back to back, they haven't really fired they fired a shot, but they haven't been the team to beat.
That's like, what, 4 years ago now? 5 years ago?
It's like quite a while. Like, what, 4 years
18,
ago.
19?
Yeah. 4 years ago now.
Jeez.
So, yeah, really, really disappointing. But I guess the positive is they got those wins early. So we'll see if they can turn it around. But it's not looking good. I think there must be a lot going on off the field for such a good side to be struggling like this.
Yeah, I don't have many answers to it.
Yeah, neither. Because it's just, even though they're still within touching of the 8, it's just been such a disappointing season.
Yeah.
You could make the argument there's not a single player in their side that is having a good year.
For sure.
Which is like, usually at least there's 1 or 2 that you could say he's having a good year, but everyone else is struggling. Like, it looks like everyone is struggling at the Roosters right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they turn things around. They've got the Knights this week. Huge game. And like, now we know the Knights aren't such an easy beat. Now on to Storm defeat the Sharks. Oh my God. Every time.
Every week.
Every time. So on the weeks that they come out and get towed up, I'm sitting here going, nah, they'll prove us wrong, they'll play well. Then they go and get towed up. And then the week where I'm like, man, Storm, I don't see them as premiership contenders. They go out and towel up Sharks who are premiership contenders. I cannot pick the Storm. And you know what? I have to be honest. Even though they beat the Sharks 54-10, I'm still unsure as to, do we have the normal Storm back or not?
Yeah. No, I don't think. It doesn't disregard the fact that they did get 50 put on them by the Cowboys, who had struggled all season the week before. Melbourne were excellent, but how often does a Craig Bellamy coach side not bounce back? I was actually, hindsight's a great thing, but I was actually pissed off that I tipped the Sharks. I was like, Melbourne sides always bounce back. After a game that bad. I don't want to take anything away from Melbourne because they were outstanding. God, the Sharks were poor. They were really, really poor in this one. I'll go straight to it because it just stuck out like a sore thumb. But the left edge of Moylan and Teague Wilton, and they weren't alone there, but that have been the problem area all season, Melbourne just had a field day with.
I think that the Sharks need to start considering, maybe having a conversation with Moylan as to, mate, if this continues, we may need to bring in Trindle, which is, it guts me to say. I've loved the turnaround of Moylan's career, but unfortunately this season in defence, it just, that left side, like, look, maybe it's not his fault, but he is usually the main maybe it's Wilton's fault. Teague Wilton's not getting them up. I don't know. But there have been a few misses in that, like, for example, the Storm's game plan, they just worked him over. Like, they just went up.
Yep.
Like, he ended up having, sorry, guys, I'll get it up. And you could tell that they just identified him in the video session and said, even if he makes the tackle, it's not going to be a dominant tackle. He had 27 tackles and 10 misses. Like, that is a game plan made specifically to go at Moylan.
Do you want to hear Braden Trindle's reserve grade stats on the weekend? So the Jets won 36-20 over the Bears. Trindle had 1 try, 4 line break assists and 3 try assists.
What was his defence like?
Defence was... He had 11 tackles, 3 misses.
It's pretty normal for a half.
Yeah. I mean, unless you've actually seen what the missed tackles were. It's hard to be. But, and it's... I don't think you can sugarcoat Moyes' defence. Like, he's been very ordinary this year. Attack's been fine. He looks awesome in attack. But, unfortunately, that is such a problem area, that corridor between Moylan and Wilton. And if it doesn't change really soon, you're not far enough out from the finals yet that you can't, I don't think, make changes. But the longer you push it, if this thing keeps happening and you keep getting the same errors and keep conceding the same tries, then it will be too late if you wait to round 22 or 3. So if not now, you give them 1 or 2 more weeks, say, boys, if this doesn't change, Trindle has to come in.
As I said, I'm such a fan of Moyes' turnaround. It's just been such a good thing to see him on the footy field playing rugby league. But I even think maybe this is the week.
Yeah.
And you do it early rather than late. So let's say it is a bit unfair or early on Moyes. You give Trindle a chance. You give him 2 to 3 games. Then if that's not working, you see how Moyes goes in reserve. You bring Moyes back because at least Moyes his attack is unbelievable, and at least you can challenge the big boys with Moyes. It's probably early, but I would consider it. I
don't mind it either. And with Trindle, you get a more traditional halves player where he's got a pretty cool head on him. We know there's a lot of points, and a lot of the attack comes off Nicho Hynes anyway. We know the Sharks have points in them, not so much on the weekend because they got belted by the Storm. But they've got points in them. They play so expansively. And you just, like when they won in 2016, the backbone of the Sharks was just, they were a gritty, tough side. They would get in the arm wrestle and they would win it every time. This side, for a team coached by Craig Fitzgibbon, who's known for his defensive prowess, coaching-wise, it's just not what we expected from them. So they need to try and find that defensive ticker, because if they do, I don't know if they can win a comp anymore this season because they look a fair way off it as it stands, but they've got points in them. We know they do.
Yeah.
We see the occasional good defensive performance, but, man,
they're like a little bit, not a little bit, they're like a better version of the Titans to a degree. Where, like, their attack is unbelievable. They just need to get some consistency in defence.
They don't look willing to get in that arm wrestle and get in that grind, though. It's like...
Which is so surprising with the coach there.
They're so willing to use the ball out of their own half and throw the ball around and play expansive footy. And that's great when it works. But when it doesn't, if they finish 5th to 8th and get to the finals and they play all out attack and, ball goes to ground like it did on the weekend, they give away cheap penalties off the back of it, well, your season's done.
63% completion.
Yeah. Oh. Every week we have this conversation about the Sharks' completion rate.
Yeah.
I'm so disappointed because I thought for a stage this year they were genuine title contenders, but doesn't look like
57 missed tackles.
Oh.
Fuck. That's tough. 14 errors. Yeah, wow. Really, really disappointing. The positive for the Sharks is that they've put themselves in a position where they can afford a loss or 2. They're still sitting 5th. But the ladder is so congested that, Jesus, like you lose a few games from now on, all of a sudden you're sitting in bloody 13th.
Bad news for the Sharks. Royce Hunt has been ruled out for 6 to 7 weeks after that hip drop. And Welsh got suspended for a week. So,
well, hopefully Rudolph is back soon. Yeah. They do miss Rudolph in the middle, I think. Just that energy. But super disappointing for the Sharkies. As I said, though, I haven't put a red line in them through them yet in regard to a premiership, but it's got to start clicking soon, I think.
I haven't put a line through them either, but that was a tough watch on the weekend. Yeah. So what do they got? The Doggies this week. That'll be a good game because there's very few players missing to Origin. I think it'd be Fox and Nico's obviously available for the Sharkies now, so that'd be a good major buy round game of footy. So
it'd be a good game, but God, the Sharks they need to win that.
Yeah.
Oh, but that's the issue.
Must win for 'em.
The question you have on the Sharks is we know you can beat the bottom 8 sides.
Yeah.
We need you to beat the top 8 sides.
So they legit go Doggies this week, then they have the bye, their last bye of the season, and then they go the Dragons in round 18, the Tigers in round 19. I was about to say the Warriors are part of it. I'm like, Warriors are not part of the easy draw anymore when you're in that conversation. They're so good. But so yeah, like if they're anywhere near their best, they can easily have 8 points in the next 4 weeks. And then all of a sudden pressure's off. But you're right, Kempy. Just see them beat a top 8 side.
Yeah,
and
they're like 0 from 6 or something.
if we're talking genuine title contenders, a top 4 side.
Yeah. Yep. So it'd be interesting to see how they respond. But the problem now for their confidence is they don't play a top 8 side outside of the Warriors for 4 weeks or something. You really want to get them up against a Broncos or a Storm. Well, we just saw them against a Storm, but Storm later in the year, Penrith, so that you can really gauge, like, can we beat the top 8 sides? Like, onto the Storm, as we said, just proved us wrong once again. Harry Grant, he is phenomenal. He is absolutely phenomenal. Such a good example of patience. Came through the grade. He won Player of the NYC. 2018 makes his debut. Only plays 2 NRL games in 2 years. Gets the loan to Tigers. Comes back from the Tigers to the Storm. Has to battle it out with the Cheese. The Cheese wins Dally M Hooker. He stays patient, battles it out, and look at the player we have now. Like, he could have easily in 2019, there are at least 10 other clubs that would have taken him in a heartbeat, but he stayed patient. And now we've got, I think he is one of the most dynamic hookers we've ever seen.
He's phenomenal, isn't he? He was toying with them on the weekend.
Fucking crazy.
And, like, it's a sign of...
He ran for 201 metres as a hooker.
Yeah, even any quiet games he's had this season, there's been a couple of them there. When I say quiet by Harry Grant standards. And it ties back to the issues we've probably had quite vocally on this podcast with Melbourne's middles. And when they've been dominated, and we all know they're saying, like, when your middles aren't going forward, there's not much a hooker can do. You look at the weekend when the Storm middles dominated and Harry Grant was just like incredible.
Yeah.
If he's in a side where the pack wins the middle, you're not stopping him.
Yeah. Like, seriously, pretty much, if he's in a side where the pack dominates, you're done.
Yeah.
You're like, what do you do? You're fucked. He takes every opportunity.
Nothing. Yeah, you're screwed.
There's nothing he leaves on the table. Like, every crumb, he'll take it. And you're just like any quick play of the ball, he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's so good. And just the craftiness of some of the stuff he does, and also the physicality and contact as well. Just love watching him play.
On the middles there for the Storm.
Kamikamitha was outstanding.
Kamikamitha. First 2 tries, Grant and Kamikamitha combined for. And he's one where we say the Storm, when they battle in the middle a little bit, they have a reliance on Nelson Sofa-Solomona to have a big game. And if he doesn't, they can be a bit light on. Well, if Kamikamitha can keep producing performances like this, gives him a bit more punch through there, and we know he's got it in him, geez, he had a big game.
Massive game. And then you got Nelson, who was on the edge for a bit. And I think, so he was on Moylan's edge. So, like, look, other players have missed 10 tackles against Nelson or Solomona. So, maybe we're being a little bit too harsh on Moiser. But I would say it's not just a single game concern. It's been all season, unfortunately. Not 10 missed tackles, but like having, and also Christian Welch getting more games under his belt, that's going to help him as well. If they can keep this forward pack injury free, then I think we might see them begin to build some momentum into the finals.
Yeah, and as you said, because we don't think they've got the depth in the middles, and they've shown this season at times that they don't, they need them to stay injury free. If they do, it's a different story, but 1 or 2 key losses there, and I think they're in strife. But that was a phenomenal bounce back from them.
Munster, outstanding. Jerome Hughes, outstanding. Probably one of his better games. What about Munster's bloody, goes on the outside fence, flick pass, like a long flick pass? Just.
There were not surprising a 54-10 win over the Sharks, but there are a few players in this Storm side who had comfortably their best games of the season.
Because Jerome Hughes been a little bit quiet.
Jerome Hughes been very quiet this season by his standards. Like a pretty prolific try scorer in the NRL. He'd scored something like 1 or 2 tries this season. It was very early on.
At points, he was comparable to Cleary. Like, Cleary was still number 1, but Hughes was number 2.
All last season through the World Cup, we were rapping him so hard. He's still thereabouts, but by his stand, he'd been quiet. So he had his best game all year comfortably. Xavier Coates managed that I probably wouldn't have had him in Origin, but he was outstanding as well.
I still believe, though, they need to go into market for another forward or 2.
Yeah.
I really do think they need another forward or 2 or develop one. Tarek Sims, I thought, had some impact off the bench. I thought he was quite good off the bench.
Big boy Josh King in open space.
Yeah, the big fella. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe his eyes. And so that's like in Storm's defence, like they haven't had Tarek all year pretty much. Like he's been in and out, hasn't he? Injured?
Tarek, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Josh King, 164 metres, the big fella. So great win by Storm. It's just about keeping all those players on the field and going from there.
I do wonder, like, Nas played 63 minutes this weekend and he got bigger time because Eli Katoa had that cut on his face. Pretty bad one. It was near his eye. So he didn't come back on. So he played big minutes on the edge. And I'd need a bigger sample size of this. But last week, he played 32 minutes against the Cowboys, 40 minutes the week before that, 23 the week before that, 47 the week before that. Now, if there was sort of some injury impacted games, but do you just find a way to get more minutes into Nas? Because
I wonder if he fatigues maybe.
I'm sure he does, but he's also shown on enough occasions that you probably have to play him on an edge to get the bigger minutes out of him. But, the Storm don't have in Loiero and Eli Katoa, who's been great this year, the phenomenal edges that you can't change him or give him an extra 25 minutes on an edge. It's just, I just don't know if there's coincidence in the fact that he played 63 minutes and the Storm's pack and the side themselves look the best they have all year. Like, he was destructive. I don't know. Like, Bellyache's the man. He knows what he's doing. He knows how to get the best out of Nash. But that's how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think that it's hard to say, yes, for sure, let's get more minutes in him because he might fatigue towards the end of the year. So, but I mean, he's there. Storm are a totally different outfit when he's on the field.
Yeah, maybe because he's an Adonis and he's got these enormous muscles everywhere bulging out and they just go and the big fella needs a rest.
Oh, okay. Now on to Eels defeat the Bulldogs. Look, really, really good performance from the Eels. I thought they'd struggle a little bit without Brown, but they looked fantastic. And this is probably the first game for the Bulldogs where I've been really disappointed. This is the first game where I've gone, nah, that's not the Bulldogs that we've come to know this year. Now they've had big losses this year at times, but and there's still some positives out of this one, and we'll get to that. But this was probably their most disappointing performance so far this year, in my opinion.
It was one of them. It had one of them games for Para vibes where they went in as relatively heavy favourites, and it's games in the past that they drop even this year, and you go come out of it going, that was a must-win game. To continue a fight, to finish in the all-important top 4 position. But they came out, they played great from the word go. Mitchy Moses playing for an Origin spot, we've already spoke about him, it was phenomenal. Like Clint Gutherson was tremendous, had a hat-trick inside 25, 30 minutes, whatever it was. Huge performance from them, and said they're pretty well untouched in terms of their 17 to Origin. They play this Origin week, they play the next major Origin week in round 19. So gives them a bit of breathing space, and pretty impressive. Doggies, they didn't turn up, did they?
Yeah, it was probably like 56 missed tackles. Maybe they've been close to that before this year, but this didn't look like the same Doggy side that I'd seen earlier in the year. In
their defence, they had 7 line breaks to 6, the Doggies. So there was just the finishing touch. Para finished off all their breaks. They capitalised on these opportunities. The Doggies didn't quite. So, I mean, in that sense, maybe not too far off it. But
I will say, though, there are some shining lights.
Oof.
Carl Oloapu's try. If that doesn't get you toes as a Dogs fan, I don't know what will. Fucking hell. That was unbelievable. We're talking a teenager against men and not small other rookies, like, 4 tackle breaks in one play to set up a try. So, that's the ceiling for the kid.
It was like the moment the penny dropped where Knew his hype coming in. We saw how good his defence has been at stages this season the other week when he absolutely whacked Kieran Foran, laid him out, and then this was the first moment in attack where you just went, holy shit. As I said, it's a teenager doing this in the NRL where you went, all right, there's the attacking upside.
I will say, and it's negative Nancy, but I'm just not sold on the Burton Oluwapu 6 and 7. And they may have put themselves in a tough position where you got this incredible teenager that's playing 6, that's forcing Burton to play 7 when he's a Dally M centre. You know, I think he's a 6, so I'm just not sure. I'm not sure how that kind of works out.
Just hearing like chatting around the NRL and the club that maybe they're on the hunt for a number 7, and maybe that's like there's obviously chat around Ben Hunt, like every club's saying there's chat around Ben Hunt because why wouldn't there be? But that he might end up there, or they want a number 7. If he does, it could be a short-term play. And, all right, we'll give Carl time to develop. Maybe we play him off the bench, whatever it might be. But I just wonder maybe they're thinking Carl as a 13, the ball-playing lock. He's a big boy. He whacks.
The problem is I think that's part of the reason why he left the Broncos, because they said to him that they want to make him a 13.
Okay.
I think. I'm pretty sure. But then I read another thing when he was down at the Dogs, basically saying he's happy to play wherever.
Because that's what I was interested. Like, I agree in that the Birdo Oluwapu combination. It's hard because Birdo's sort of starting to make that transition to number 7. Oluwapu's so young in his career. It's something that you absolutely have to give time.
Yeah.
But if they were to bring in a more traditional number 7 to partner Birdo and you play Oluwapu at 13, you could see that working out. Whether or not that's something Oluwapu does or doesn't want, I don't know.
I love him at 13.
Yeah.
Like, he's got so much size to put on him. Him at 13 with that ball playing and that footwork would be... And we've been talking about the Bulldogs for how long, saying they miss an out-and-out 13. Now, Harrison Edwards has actually been quite good there, but I think Oluwapu will probably develop into a 13 only because that's what the team needs. If you know what I'm saying, like the Bulldogs, they don't need another 6. Burton's a gun at 6. So... Maybe they're thinking of if Alamonte doesn't re-sign, they're thinking of... I honestly think he could play centre as well and do quite a good job there. So maybe they're thinking that.
I mean, with his physique, play anywhere.
Pretty much anywhere. Jake Averillo, reports that Alamonte and Averillo have been told they're allowed to look elsewhere. That's reports, but I don't know if it's... I mean, surely not Alamonte and Averillo. I thought they'd been decent.
It's definitely... I think it's a defensive-based thing in that Averillo in particular... He's been tremendous in attack. Does miss a few tackles, responsible for a few try causes a game. I like Averillo and I would persist with him, but I think that's probably where it's coming from. Alamonte, he hasn't probably impressed me as much as I'd hope with the hype coming in around him. Big physical boy, solid in attack, solid in D, but I just wonder... Is there another club out there or numerous clubs saying, we'll pay on potential for what we think he could be rather than what he's delivered so far? And they're just going, well, we don't want to give him 500 or 600, whatever it might be. So
that's in that case, I
agree. What I mean. It might not be a case of we don't want to re-sign you. It could be a case of there's other clubs giving you more money than we're willing to offer you or we think you're valuable.
If that's the case, then I can understand where the doggies are coming from. If he's getting big offers from someone else to get paid on potential. Davida Pengai Jr., pretty poor showing, unfortunately, for him. Just over chasing. And, some people say that he's thinking about himself and those players. I disagree. I think it's just him trying to make a big play for his team. But he's got to be smarter than that at this stage of his career. Like, if he was making this error when he was like 20, 21, 22, we're like, you know what? That's just over-enthusiasm. But as a veteran... He's too smart for these kind of errors, in my opinion.
Time. It was it wasn't selfish play. The two where he flew up on Mitch Moses. There's one that he flew up on him and he went back inside to Guther, and there's the other one where he just overcompensated and went too hard across, and just the massive gap opened up on the inside. It wasn't selfish play. It was him trying to inject himself and make a statement. But in the context of the game, it's a brain fade, and it's decision things like that we've seen from TPJ. Time and time again, that's probably cost him inevitably his place in the Origin side. And credit to Moses and Gutho, they're so smart that straight away they were expecting it. They went whack, thank you. But mate, they were poor plays.
And because I think he'd hit him Moses earlier in the game, quite like rushed him. And so it's just like, that's good quality half play to go, you want to jam me this game? Okay, we'll see what happens. Bang, just get him twice.
And then like they knew TPJ was on Moses' edge, like sort of spending time at there. And it's like, as if Parra didn't have a game plan going. TPJ, playing for an origin spot, he's going to come out and try and shot you at some point to make a statement. They were so ready for it, both times.
Ready. What do you got there, Matty? Nothing, just chilling. Anyway, so Bulldogs, another positive is Preston Campbell continues to play well. I thought Rajab, that come off of
Preston's
the bench.
back.
Oh, my God. Jacob Preston. It's Preston Campbell. He was great for the Doggies. No, Jacob Preston, another great game by him. I thought Khaled Rajab, I thought he was really good off the bench. I can see him being, and he may not want to be this because he may be a starting 6 or 7. I can see him being one of the better 14s in the comp. I love what he brings to the footy side.
How good did he look?
Just impact.
Yeah, could definitely be wrong, but I believe he was maybe outside the top 25 or top 20 or top 30 and wasn't allowed to be selected until after that round 12, 13, whenever that, I think it's round 12. Got his chance. He looks good, doesn't he?
And I just think he might suit the 14 in the modern game.
High energy, relatively versatile.
Yeah.
He's actually spent a bit of time at fullback, I believe.
Yeah, and like he played in the halves, I think, with Moses for Lebanon. So, like, I genuinely think he could be a specialist 14 because he just has that impact about him. Doesn't necessarily have the finesse of maybe a 7, but at the moment, the Bulldogs don't really have a 7 that you could put him at 6, and they've already got Carlo Oluwapu and Matty Burton that can play 6. So it's like, okay, well, where do I fit in this side? Well, I could jag a 14 jersey and keep that 14 jersey, for the next couple of years.
Shout out Kyle Flanagan.
4 tries in Rezzies.
Rezzies, 4 tries at hooker.
Unbelievable. Who would have thought?
He scored 34 points from hooker.
Unbelievable. And apparently he's been killing it in New South Wales covers a hooker. I can't believe, who would have thought he'd be a gun 9?
All the flack he's got over his career, it turns out he's playing out of position. He was actually the best number 9 in the NRL. He just didn't get a chance. Isn't that crazy?
Mate, it's crazy. What a performance. But yeah, overall though for the Dogs, super disappointing. So if this continues for the rest of the year, you're back to where you were 12 months ago. Yeah.
We keep bringing up the, and you're correct on that one, the New South Wales Cup side, it's great to see a club with depth, but you obviously want to see it paying dividends in the NRL, not just New South Wales Cup, but they won 64-12 on the weekend.
Far out.
They're sitting top of New South Wales Cup. They've had a fair few injuries this year, the Dogs. They've had 9 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses, top of New South Wales Cup. So that is a great sign. Yeah,
great sign for the future. It's just about putting it together. And also some key positions. I genuinely, I'm not convinced that I think Birdo's a 6. I really do. I really do. Now, on to the Eels. I mean, this is exactly what they needed. Geez, they looked a different side with RCG and Paolo at the front. Gutho was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. Moses was phenomenal. And, we kind of say it, we feel like we say with every team, they're just outside the 8 now. They've turned a disastrous year into a few more wins, and they're in the top 4. So bizarre how this year has worked out because there's not a single... Is there anyone watching... Like, if you took the ladder out of it and you just watched them play, you would have said disaster year. And yet they're not.
How seamlessly did Dayan Arcee slot into Dylan Brown's spot at 5'8"?
So good.
It looked like that left edge didn't look like it missed a beat. He was solid in defence. He had all the same attributes of playing deep into the line. The key was to get Clint Gutherson, good early ball out in front. They were dynamic. So, again, going out to depth. Gee, I thought he was tremendous.
No, they're missing Brown. They're missing Hodgson at 9. Hands did his job.
RCG, first game back.
Yeah.
Missing Lane, missing Madison. So it's so important for Parramatta while they've got all these blokes out. Maddo's potentially back this week. If not, should be next.
Yeah.
Sean Lane a little bit longer, but he might be around 18 or 19. So if they can just notch a few of these wins in the meantime, it'll have them well enough placed to make a charge when hopefully they get
What's
something.
What's their next month of footy?
Good. So they've got, might be their... Who is it this week? They play 16 in round 19. Again, weeks they should have every chance at winning because they don't really lose anyone to Origin. They've got the bye in round 18.
Yeah, so they got Manly, Dolphins, bye, Warriors, Titans.
If they jag those wins,
Manly this week without their Origin contingent.
Yeah.
if they have a big next month, all of a sudden a disaster year turns into they're back into premiership contention, which is crazy to think.
Yeah.
Crazy to think.
I got a bit of a negative one, unfortunately. Sivo's been charged 4 times this year already and fined 4 times, 3 times for dangerous contact. Like, at what point do you get suspended for finable offence? Like, that's his 3rd one. It's around 3rd dangerous contact, 4th.
But that
charge,
wasn't he just like had his jersey and he was just giving a bit of a facial?
I actually can't remember what it was.
Trying to remember it.
It was
You know,
dangerous.
it was
Was it that one or was
it was the
different
one where
It said it was on Jacob Kiraz.
the set finished and they called back later and the ref was like, on report, Micah's like, what for?
Maybe it was nothing then.
Leave it with me.
Okay.
I'll remember it.
Just
Jeez.
funny seeing his name here 4 times.
Far out. Negative Nancy. Far out, Matty. What do you hate Sivo for? Jeez Louise. But yeah, great win for the Eels. If I had to be super critical, probably could have gone on with it a bit more in the second half. But other than that, this is exactly what they needed.
Great win. I feel like Sivo's, it might have been in attack and it might have been like this could be completely wrong, but a Tino bumpers type setup and he went up to Kiraz because it was after the play, it sort of went a little bit hidden. Anyway, super win from Para.
Yep.
And they looked the piece. I said without so many of their key players. So, yeah.
And that's the tough thing with Para. Like they did the same thing last year. It's like 1 week struggled, 1 week great, 1 week struggled. So, as I said, they have a big month. All of a sudden, the whole year's turned around.
We may see there with Moses on Origin duty as well. I said they're not missing that much to Origin. They're actually now missing Moses and Junior Barlow. But it depends where they want to go. But Gutho might end up at 5'8" this week. Just because they're real light on halves now.
Yeah, Bailey Simonson at fullback maybe. Or
Bailey or Zach Sini played fullback in New South Wales Carp. So they've got a few options, but...
Okay. Great win for the Eels. Exactly what they needed. A good, strong, dominant win. Now, on to tips for this week. Brought to you by Sportsbet, the #1 betting agency in the land. They've got a new feature called Share a Bet. Boom, one button, copies your mate's bet, and you can punt together. If you're going to gamble, do it responsibly. You'll win some, but you'll lose more, guys. Cowboys paying $2.60. Panthers $1.50. Who you got?
Panthers.
I think Cowboys at 260 it should be higher. It should be further out.
Yeah.
$3. Look how good. I mean, Panthers are. Sorry, my bad. Panthers are missing Luai, Martin,
Yo,
To'o, Cleary, To'o. Yeah, okay, my bad.
and then
my bad.
But, yeah, Cows are what they're Cotter, Val,
Robson,
Dearden
will probably be in camp. I'd assume.
Is Dearden 18th man again? No.
Brimson is, but they might bring him into camp anyway. That makes more sense. But yep, I'm going Panthers. What are you going, Matty?
Panthers.
Knights v Roosters. Knights are paying $1.55.
Wow.
Roosters are paying $2.45.
Knights. Are the Knights missing anyone?
Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil.
And the Roosters lose Teddy plus every other man, his dog. Knights.
Knights, after last week, I can't back the Roosters, eh? Eels versus Manly. Eels are paying $1.65. Manly $2.25.
Eels.
Yeah, Para.
I see. Oh, yeah, Eels. Tigers, Storm. Tigers $2.50. Storm $1.54.
This was such a winnable game for the Tigers before those 2 injuries, wasn't it? Although Appy might have been out anyway. What Storm lose? Grant, Munster, Coates.
Hughes will step up. Meany's still there. I'm going Storm.
Matty?
I might go Tigers.
I will go far out. Storm.
Sharkies paying $1.28. Bulldogs $3.75. What are you going?
I guess Sharkies win big.
Sharkies.
Yeah, Sharkies, I think. Sharkies are going to bounce back. That is us done and dusted for the week. Make sure Beers and Break Even, is that on this week or not? Not sure yet.
Beers and Break Even is on my SC Playbook podcast tonight, backing up from this podcast.
Holy
so don't
shit.
like putting a bit of effort. Beers and Break Evens tomorrow morning. Guru's deserted me 2 days in a row, so She'll all be out there,
Mate,
though. SC
the big
Playbook,
fella.
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, so get around it.
Get around it. Give him a follow, SC Playbook 1 on Instagram. And as usual, I'll go and fuck myself. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.